Fuck the spotlight. The antidote to stage fright, social anxiety, and a guide to fearless communication. Malick Tra. Table of Content. Introduction. The signal and the static. Why you are trapped in the black box, the high cost of the mute button, and why confidence is the exhaust, not the fuel. Part 1. The Trap. The Mechanics of Self-Obsession. Chapter 1. The Curse of Being Impressive. The Neuroscience of the Freeze. Understanding the spotlight effect, the cognitive cost of the ego audit, and why your brain treats a meeting room like a saber-toothed tiger. Chapter 2. The Freedom of Non-Ownership. Resigning from the job of General Manager of the Universe. The waiter analogy, the distinction between influence and control, and how to stop taking responsibility for other people's emotions. Chapter 3. The Myth of the Confident Feeling. Driving the bus with the demon, why waiting to feel ready is a trap, the struggle switch, and how to take action while the passenger, anxiety, screams in your ear. Part 2. The Internal Shift. From Performer to Analyst. Chapter 4. The Adrenaline Anchor. Transmuting Fear into Power. The Biology of the HPA Axis. Why calming down is impossible. And how to use the volume hack and floor spike to turn shakes into charisma. Chapter 5. Your Own Values. Navigating the fog of ambiguity. How to survive when there is no topic. Moving from fawning, people-pleasing, to sovereignty by using the values compass. Curiosity, generosity, honesty. Part 3. The External Shift. The Art of Outward Focus. Chapter 6. Flow Social. The Mechanics of Charisma. Gamifying Boredom. The Detective Method. Hook Hunting. And how to close the feedback loop to enter a state of social flow. Chapter 7. Mastering the Pause. The Power of Silence. Overcoming the apnea of anxiety, the 4 types of silence, and how to use pressure transference to win negotiations and deepen connection. Chapter 8. The Unscripted Topic. Surviving Chaos with Yes and. Why Scripts Fail, how to handle the black swan and disaster, and using the 3rd point to resolve conflict without taking it personally. Part 4. The Lifestyle. Permanence and Freedom. Chapter 9. The Habits of the Analyst. Automating Your Freedom. The Neuroscience of Myelination. Designing an environment that kills self-consciousness, and the Relapse Protocol for when the anxiety returns. Chapter 10. Living Unselfconsciously. The Manifesto. The Attention Diet, the Ghost Pathway, and the ultimate shift from the finite game of validation to the infinite game of connection. Introduction. The Architecture of Stage Fright. Let's define stage fright. Most people think stage fright is reserved for actors on Broadway or CEOs giving a keynote to 5,000 people. You might say, I don't have stage fright. I just get nervous on dates. I want to reframe your definition of the stage. The stage is anywhere your voice is heard by another human being. The dinner table is a stage. The Zoom window is a stage. The checkout counter at the grocery store is a stage. The difficult conversation with your spouse is a stage. Anytime you are required to transmit an idea from your brain to another person's brain, you are performing. And anytime you are performing, there is the potential for the glitch. The glitch is that moment where your communication hardware malfunctions. Inside your head, you are Shakespeare. You are articulate, witty, and deep. But as soon as the spotlight hits you, whether it's the literal spotlight of a stage or the metaphorical spotlight of a stranger's eye contact, the system crashes. The RAM drain. Your memory goes blank. You forget words you know. The audio distortion. Your voice goes up an octave. You speak too fast. You stutter. The visual static. You avoid eye contact. You look at your shoes. You make yourself small. This is not a personality defect. This is an engineering problem. You are trying to run a high-fidelity communication program, complex speech, on an operating system that is currently prioritizing survival, fight or flight. Your body thinks you are fighting a saber-toothed tiger. When you fight a tiger, you do not need to be articulate. You do not need to be witty. You need to run. So your brain shuts down the communication centers, prefrontal cortex, and fires up the survival centers, amygdala. It cuts the power to the speech department to divert it to the running department. This is why you feel stupid when you are anxious. You literally have less access to your intelligence. You are trying to give a speech with 10% of your brain because the other 90% is screaming at you to flee the room. The traditional advice for this problem is useless. Just relax. Picture them in their underwear. Take a deep breath. This is like telling a person whose house is on fire to just rearrange the furniture. It doesn't address the root cause. The root cause is not that you are nervous. The root cause is that you are misinterpreting the situation. You view communication as a threat. You view the audience, whether it's one person or 1,000, as a predator. As long as your brain tags other people as predators, you will never be able to communicate effectively. You cannot connect with a predator. You can only hide from it. We have to rewrite the tag. We have to change the fundamental way you view the act of speaking, the myth of the natural. There is a pervasive myth that keeps millions of people trapped in silence. It is the myth of the natural communicator. We look at people like Barack Obama or Oprah Winfrey, or that one friend who can walk into a bar and make friends with everyone in 10 minutes. We think, they were born with it. They have the charisma gene. I don't. I was born anxious. This is just who I am. This is the fixed mindset, and it is a lie. Communication is not a trait like eye color or height. Communication is a skill like playing the piano or driving a car. Charisma is not magic. It is mechanics. Nobody is born knowing how to drive a stick shift. When you first learn, it is terrifying. You stall the engine. You grind the gears. You sweat. You panic when a car pulls up behind you on a hill. You are hyper-conscious of every movement. Am I letting the clutch out too fast? Am I in the right gear? But you don't say, I guess I'm just not a natural driver. You keep practicing, and eventually a miracle happens. The mechanics disappear. You stop thinking about the clutch. You stop thinking about the gear shift. You just drive. You listen to the radio. You talk to your passenger. The car becomes an extension of your body. Social anxiety is simply the state of being a learner driver who gave up too soon. You are still grinding the gears. You are still staring at the clutch. You are overthinking the mechanics of eye contact, of silence, of humor. You are driving with the emergency brake on. This book is your driving school. We are going to break down the mechanics of human connection into learnable, drillable components. We will learn the mechanics of attention, where to look. We will learn the mechanics of silence, how to pause. We will learn the mechanics of listening, how to investigate. We will learn the mechanics of status, how to stand. These are not magical gifts bestowed by the gods. They are tools. And like any tool, they can be mastered by anyone willing to pick them up and do the work. You do not need a personality transplant. You do not need to become an extrovert. You just need to learn how to operate the machinery of connection without crashing the car. The signal-to-noise ratio. To understand why your communication fails, we have to look at a fundamental concept of engineering, the signal-to-noise ratio. In any communication system, whether it is a radio tower, a fiber optic cable, or a conversation between two humans, clarity depends entirely on the strength of the signal relative to the level of the noise. The signal. This is the topic. It is the data, the joke, the story, or the emotion you want to transfer from your brain to theirs. It is the payload. The noise. This is the interference. It is the static that corrupts the payload. For a confident speaker, the channel is pristine. Input. I have a great idea. Transmission, clear line, zero static. Output, I have a great idea. Result, the idea is received. For the anxious speaker, the channel is flooded with interference. The moment you step into the spotlight, an internal jamming signal turns on. It is a high-pitched, deafening feedback loop of self-consciousness. Input, I have a great idea. The noise, do I look weird? My voice is shaking. They're going to reject me. I'm stupid. This is a bad idea. Pull back. Abort. Output, so, I was thinking maybe... Signal lost. Result, confusion. The noise is so loud that it drowns out the signal. For the last 50 years, the self-help industry has looked at this problem and given you the wrong solution. They have told you to boost the signal. They tell you to project your voice. They tell you to stand tall and fake it till you make it. They tell you to pump more energy into the performance. They tell you to act confident. From an engineering standpoint, this is a disaster. If you have a noisy radio channel, shouting into the microphone doesn't fix the static. It just makes the static louder. Trying to perform confidence when you are terrified just adds more noise to the system. It adds a layer of acting on top of the layer of anxiety. Now you aren't just nervous, you are nervous and fake. The solution is not to boost the signal. The solution is to cut the noise. We are not going to teach you how to shout. We are going to teach you how to mute the interference. We are going to turn down the volume on the internal monologue so that your natural voice, which is already strong enough, can finally get through. The source of the static, the ego. What is generating the noise? Where is the static coming from? It is coming from you. Specifically, it is coming from your obsession with the transmitter, self, rather than the receiver, them. In communication theory, this is called high self-monitoring. A high self-monitor is someone who is constantly tracking their own behavior, regulating their own expressions, and auditing their own performance in real time. Imagine you are trying to have a conversation while looking in a mirror. You are watching your lips move. You are checking your hair. You are analyzing your micro-expressions. How well are you listening to the other person? You aren't. You are listening to yourself. This is the core thesis of this book. Social anxiety is not a problem of fear. It is a problem of focus. When you are anxious, you are 100% focused on yourself. How do I look? How do I sound? What do they think of me? You are the star of your own horror movie. You have become the center of the universe. This might be hard to hear. We tend to think of anxiety as a form of humility. We think, I'm just so shy, I'm so humble. I want to challenge that. I want to propose that anxiety is a form of inverted narcissism. Narcissism is not loving yourself. Narcissism is thinking about yourself constantly. Whether you are thinking, I am a god, or I am a piece of garbage, you are still thinking about I. The subject is the same. The spotlight is on the same place. As long as the spotlight is on you, you cannot communicate. You cannot connect. Because communication requires you to be with the other person. You cannot be in two places at once. You cannot be locked inside your own head and present in the room. To fix your communication, we have to smash the mirror. We have to turn the camera around. The messenger mindset. How do we do this? How do we stop the self-monitoring when our biology is screaming at us to protect ourselves? We have to fundamentally change your job description. Currently, you view communication as a performance. In a performance, there is a star, you, and a critic, the audience. The goal of a performance is to be impressive, to be witty, to be smart, to be charming, to win applause. When you perform, you are taking. You are asking the audience to give you validation. You are saying, look at me and tell me I am good. This is a high-pressure game. If the goal is to be impressive, then every mistake is a tragedy. Every stutter is a failure. Every silence is a bad review. No wonder you are terrified. Your self-worth is on the line every time you open your mouth. We are going to shift you into a new role. You are no longer a performer, you are a messenger. Imagine a firefighter running out of a burning building holding a child. Does the firefighter stop to worry if his helmet looks cool? Does he worry if he's running with good posture? Does he care if the crowd thinks he's handsome? No. He has no attention left for his ego. His entire bandwidth is consumed by the topic, the child. He is merely the vessel for the delivery of something important. When you disappear into the importance of your message, fear evaporates. You cannot be deeply self-conscious and deeply topic-conscious at the same time. It is biologically impossible. If you are giving a presentation on quarterly earnings, the topic is the financial safety of the company. You are the messenger. If you are on a date, the topic is the other person's life story. You are the explorer. If you are giving a toast at a wedding, the topic is the love between the couple. You are the mirror reflecting it. You are not the point. The topic is the point. When you adopt the messenger mindset, the pressure evaporates. You are no longer the star of the show, you are just the vehicle for the information. If you stumble over a word, who cares? The package still arrived. If your hands shake, who cares? The package still arrived. If you aren't the most charismatic person in the room, who cares? The package still arrived. You don't need to be shiny, you just need to be clear. The hoarding of potential. I want you to think about what is currently trapped inside your mute button. Think about the ideas you haven't shared because you were afraid of being interrupted. Think about the jokes you whispered to yourself, but didn't say out loud. Think about the compliments you didn't give because you felt awkward. Think about the boundaries you didn't set because you were afraid of conflict. That is a lot of lost signal. That is a lot of value that has died in transit. We tend to think of social anxiety as a victimless crime. I'm just hurting myself, you think. I'm just staying quiet. I'm not bothering anyone. I want to challenge that. I want to propose that your silence is actually a form of selfishness. I know that sounds harsh. You are used to thinking of your silence as modesty. But look at the result. When you hide, you hoard your value. You keep your perspective, your humor, and your intelligence to yourself. You deprive the room of your contribution. Your team needs your insight to solve the problem. Your friends need your vulnerability to feel connected. The world needs your voice. When you refuse to speak because you are afraid of looking stupid, you are prioritizing your own safety over the needs of the group. You are choosing the ego over the topic. This book is a call to service. It is a demand that you stop hoarding your potential. If you believe that you have something of value to offer, if you believe that your thoughts, feelings, and ideas are worth more than zero, then you have a moral obligation to fix the transmitter. You have an obligation to get the noise out of the way so the signal can pass. The anti-fragile communicator. This new way of living leads to a state called anti-fragility. The anxious communicator is fragile. They need everything to go perfectly. They need the perfect script, the perfect audience, and the perfect internal feeling. If one thing goes wrong, a heckler, a stutter, a tech failure, they shatter. The messenger is anti-fragile. Because you are focused on the topic, not the self, you can handle chaos. If the projector breaks, you don't panic about looking bad. You just say, okay, the screen is dead. Gather round, I'll draw it on a napkin. If someone asks a hostile question, you don't feel attacked. You get curious. Interesting objection. Let's dig into that. If you trip and fall on stage, you don't die of shame. You say, well, gravity works. Now that I'm down here, let's talk about the foundation of this project. When you stop trying to protect your image, you become unbreakable. You become dangerous in the best possible way. You become the person who can walk into any room under any condition and get the job done. The contract of connection. This book is a technical manual for clearing the line. It is not a collection of soft skills or vague encouragement. It is a system of attention engineering. We are going to use tactical psychology, behavioral science, and the principles of flow state to hack your transmission frequency. We are going to stop fighting the symptoms, the sweating, the shaking, and start fighting the cause, the self-obsession. We are going to move the camera from the mirror to the window. But before we begin, you must agree to the premise. You must sign the contract. You must agree that the message is more important than the messenger. You must agree that connecting with the other person is more important than protecting your ego. You must agree to stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be received. You are going to take action while you are scared. You are going to speak while your hands are shaking. You are going to walk into the room while your heart is hammering against your ribs. But you are going to do it differently this time. You are going to stop fighting the static. You are going to pick up your message, lock your eyes on the topic, and walk right through the fire. You are not the point. You never were. The topic is the point. The world is waiting for your signal. Let's get to work. Part 1, The Trap, Theory. Chapter 1, The Curse of Being Impressive. The anatomy of the freeze. Close your eyes. I want you to go back there. I want you to transport yourself back to the last time you felt the tightening. It doesn't matter where you were physically. The location is irrelevant because the geography of fear is always the same. Maybe you were standing backstage behind a heavy velvet curtain, listening to the muffled, terrifying hum of an audience settling into their seats. You could hear the coughs, the shuffling of papers, the low murmur of judgment. Maybe you were standing outside a glass-walled conference room, clutching a stack of quarterly reports that suddenly felt like they were written in a dead language you never learned. You looked through the glass at the people inside, your colleagues, your bosses, and they didn't look like people anymore. They looked like a firing squad. Maybe you were just sitting in your car, gripping the steering wheel until your knuckles turned white, trying to summon the courage to walk into a cocktail party where you only knew one person. You checked your reflection in the rearview mirror for the 10th time, searching for a flaw that would explain why you didn't belong there. The external circumstances change, but the internal physiology of the freeze is universal. First, the silence hits. The ambient noise of the world, the traffic, the chatter, the music, drops away, replaced by the rushing sound of your own blood in your ears. It sounds like the ocean, but violent. It is the sound of your own biology turning against you. Then, the vision narrows. You experience the phenomenon of tunnel vision. Your peripheral awareness vanishes. The world becomes a small, sharp, terrifyingly bright aperture directly in front of you. This is your brain trying to focus on the threat, but in a social setting, it just makes you feel trapped. Your body begins to betray you. Your palms become slick with sweat, a biological relic from a time when our primate ancestors needed better grip to climb trees and escape predators. But you are not climbing a tree. You are holding a microphone or a wine glass or a laser pointer. The sweat makes you feel slippery, out of control. Your digestion shuts down instantly, pulling blood away from your stomach to fuel your large muscle groups. This leaves that hollow, acid pit in your gut, the butterflies that feel more like bats. Your throat constricts, making it feel impossible to swallow, altering the pitch of your voice, tightening your vocal cords until they feel like piano wire pulled to the breaking point. And then, the voice arrives. It is not a kind voice. It is not a rational voice. It is a frantic, shrieking internal monitor that scans for danger and finds it everywhere. Why are you breathing so fast? You look like you just ran a marathon. Everyone is going to see your hands shaking. Hide them. Put them in your pockets. No, that looks weird. Cross your arms. No, that looks defensive. You're going to open your mouth and nothing is going to come out. You are going to freeze and it will be silent and they will stare. They know. They know you're a fraud. They know you don't belong here. By the time you step into the light, whether it's a literal stage light or just the fluorescent glare of the break room, you are already defeated. You aren't entering a conversation or a speech. You are entering a war zone, and the enemy is you. We have a name for this experience. We call it stage fright. We call it social anxiety. We call it imposter syndrome. We treat it like a disease. We treat it like a pathology, a personality flaw, a lack of courage, or a failure of self-esteem. We go to therapy to fix our broken confidence. We buy books that tell us to breathe deeper, to visualize success, to stand in power poses in the bathroom stall, or to repeat affirmations until we believe them. I am here to tell you that all of that is wrong. Your anxiety is not a disease. It is not a moral failing. And most importantly, it is not something you can breathe away. The reason you are paralyzed is not because you are broken. It is because you are misusing the most valuable resource your brain possesses: your attention. The great lie of self-help. For the last 50 years, the self-help industry has sold us a seductive but poisonous lie about confidence. The narrative goes like this: you are afraid because you don't believe in yourself enough. To succeed, you must build your self-esteem. You must love yourself. You must believe you are the star. This advice is well-intentioned. It sounds nice on a greeting card, but in the trenches of social interaction, it is catastrophic. By telling you to focus on your self-esteem, these experts are telling you to focus on yourself. They are handing you a magnifying glass and telling you to examine your own flaws, your own breathing, and your own performance even more closely. Think about it. When you are standing in front of a crowd, paralyzed by fear, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about the audience's needs? No. Are you thinking about the data on your slides? No. Are you thinking about the fascinating history of the topic you're discussing? Absolutely not. You are thinking about you. How do I look? Do they like me? Am I stumbling? The problem isn't that you think too little of yourself. The problem is that you are thinking about yourself entirely too much. Social anxiety is not a pathology of low self-worth. It is a pathology of high self-obsession. This cognitive bias is known as the spotlight effect. It is the delusional belief that everyone around you is paying as much attention to you as you are to yourself. It turns every pair of eyes in the room into a high-powered laser beam directed at your insecurities. In 2000, researchers at Cornell University conducted a famous study to prove this. They forced students to wear an embarrassing T-shirt featuring a picture of Barry Manilow and walk into a crowded classroom. They asked the students to estimate how many people noticed the shirt. The prediction. The anxious students estimated that 50% of the room would notice the embarrassing shirt. The reality. In reality, only 23% noticed. And here is the kicker. Even the ones who noticed didn't care. They forgot about it seconds later. Why? Because they were too busy worrying about their own T-shirts. They were too busy broadcasting on their own internal frequency. Now, reading this might hurt. It sounds harsh to be called self-obsessed. You might be thinking, I'm not a narcissist. I hate myself right now. That's why I'm scared. But in the context of cognitive attention, self-hatred and self-love are identical. They both demand that the spotlight of your attention be shined firmly, blindingly on your own ego. As long as the spotlight is on you, you will be afraid. Because when the spotlight is on you, you are being judged. The evolutionary glitch. Why eyes equal death. To understand why this happens and why it feels so physically dangerous, we have to look at the architecture of the mind. We have to look at the evolutionary glitch. You are running modern software, social nuance, language, PowerPoint, on ancient hardware, the amygdala. Evolutionarily, human beings are pack animals. 50,000 years ago on the savannah, your survival was entirely dependent on the tribe. You could not outrun a lion. You could not overpower a bear. You could not hunt a mammoth alone. You needed the pack. Being exiled from the tribe was a death sentence. If the tribe decided you were useless, annoying, or a burden, they stopped sharing food with you. They stopped protecting you while you slept. You died. Therefore, your brain developed a mechanism to monitor your status within the tribe. We can call this mechanism the ego. The ego is your internal spotlight operator. Its job is to scan the environment for threats to your social standing. When you are alone, the ego sleeps. But the moment you walk into a room full of eyes, the ego wakes up and slams the spotlight directly onto you. "Wake up!" the ego screams. "They are watching! If we screw this up, we die! Check the hair! Check the posture! Monitor the voice tone! Don't say anything stupid!" This mechanism kept your ancestors alive. It stopped them from stealing the chief's meat or sleeping with the wrong partner. It was a survival tool. But today, in a modern conference room or a coffee shop date, this mechanism is a disaster. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a predator and a public speaking engagement. It sees eyes on me and it interprets threat to life. It initiates the hyperfeedback loop. The trigger. You enter a social situation. The spotlight. The ego directs all your attention inward to monitor for errors. The resource drain. Because all your attention is internal, you stop listening to the other person. You miss social cues. The error. Because you aren't paying attention, you actually do say something awkward or hesitate too long. The panic. The ego sees this error and screams, "We are failing! Try harder!" The crash. You try to perform even harder, becoming more unnatural, more robotic, and more terrified. The ego, in its attempt to protect you from judgment, actually causes the very failure it fears. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy machine. The engineering problem, the RAM audit. To understand why trying to be confident fails and why moving the spotlight works, we have to leave psychology behind for a moment and look at engineering. We need to look at the hardware of your mind. Your brain is a supercomputer, but it is not infinite. It has a specific limitation: RAM, random access memory. RAM is the working memory available to handle immediate tasks. Your brain has a finite amount of bandwidth. It can only process a certain number of cognitive units at any given millisecond. Imagine your brain has a total budget of 100 units of attention energy. To deliver a great speech, or to have a charming conversation on a first date, or to negotiate a raise, the task requires about 90 units of that energy. To perform socially, you need to listen to the incoming audio, the other person's voice. Process the syntax and meaning. Read nonverbal facial cues. Are they bored? Are they happy? Recall relevant facts from long-term memory. Formulate a coherent sentence. Articulate that sentence using motor control of the mouth and tongue. This is a high-cost activity. It requires almost all of your available RAM. Now let's look at the anxious brain. When you walk into a high-stakes situation with the spotlight turned on yourself, you are not just doing the task. You are simultaneously running a massive, resource-heavy background program called the Ego Audit. This program is running a continuous diagnostic on your social survival. It looks like this. Scan face for micro-expressions of boredom. Cost, 15 units. Monitor internal heart rate and attempt to lower it. Cost, 10 units. Formulate defense strategies against potential judgment. Cost, 20 units. Compare current performance to an idealized perfection. Cost, 25 units. Wonder if my hands look weird. Cost, 5 units. Do the math. The Ego Audit is consuming 75 units of your attention energy. That leaves you with 25 units left to actually give the speech, listen to your date, or answer the interview question. What happens when you try to run a 90-unit task with only 25 units of available power? System crash. This is the mechanics of the freeze. You stutter. You forget words you've known since you were 5 years old. Your mind goes blank. You miss obvious social cues like someone offering a handshake. Then you make the fatal error. You interpret this crash as proof that you are socially inept. You think, "See, I knew I couldn't do it. I'm broken." But you didn't fail because you are stupid. You didn't fail because you are uncharismatic. You failed because you were broke. You experienced a resource allocation failure. You were trying to perform a complex external task while simultaneously running a massive, crippling internal audit. No human being on Earth, not Oprah, not Obama, not Clooney, could perform well with only 25% of their brain available. The only way to fix this is not to get better at speaking. It is to shut down the background program. You must reclaim those 75 units of energy. You are not broken. You are just cognitively bankrupt. The neuroscience of the switch, DMN versus TPN. This isn't just a metaphor about RAM. This is literally how your brain is wired. Neuroscience has identified two primary networks in the human brain that are largely anti-correlated, meaning when one is on, the other is off. They operate like a seesaw. 1. The default mode network, DMN, the ego's playground. The DMN is the network that activates when you are not doing anything specific. It is the network of daydreaming, ruminating, and self-referencing. When the DMN is active, you are thinking about the past, regrets, the future, worries, yourself, self-concept, what others think of you, social status. This is the home of the ego. This is channel S, self. When you are socially anxious, your DMN is lit up like a Christmas tree. 2. The task-positive network, TPN, the analyst's office. The TPN activates when you are engaged in a demanding, attention-heavy external task. It handles math problems, complex motor skills, logical analysis, deep listening. This is the home of the topic. This is channel T, task. Here is the critical discovery. You cannot have high activity in the DMN and the TPN simultaneously. When you fully engage the task-positive network by focusing intently on an external problem, the default mode network must shut down. This is the biological basis of fuck the spotlight. Social anxiety thrives because you are hovering in the middle of the seesaw. You are trying to perform a task, TPN, while obsessively monitoring yourself, DMN. The brain cannot sustain this. It flickers back and forth rapidly, causing cognitive friction and exhaustion. The metabolic cost of switching. This flickering explains why social anxiety is so physically exhausting. Every time your brain switches between the DMN and the TPN, it incurs a switching cost. It burns glucose. If you spend a 1-hour dinner party rapidly toggling between what did he say, TPN, and do I look stupid, DMN, you are performing thousands of micro-switches. By the end of the hour, you are depleted. You feel like you need a nap. This isn't because you are an introvert. It's because you ran a marathon of cognitive inefficiency. To kill the anxiety, you must slam the seesaw down on the side of the TPN. You must make the external task so demanding, so interesting, and so consuming that the brain is forced to power down the ego network to survive. This is why we focus on the topic. We don't focus on the topic just to be polite. We focus on the topic to hijack our own neurology and shut down the machinery of fear. The high-definition trap. The resolution mismatch. There is one final cognitive trap that keeps the ego audit running, the resolution mismatch. You experience yourself in high-definition 4K. You experience everyone else in standard definition 480p. When you look at yourself, you have access to internal data that no one else has. You can feel the micro tremor in your stomach. You can feel the slight heat in your cheeks. You know that you meant to say excellent, but you said great. You remember that you tripped on the stairs 3 years ago. You are watching the movie of your life on an IMAX screen, noticing every single pixel of imperfection. However, when you look at other people, you only see their exterior. You don't know if their stomach is churning. You don't know if they forgot their lines. You only see what they show you. The trap. You assume that they can see you in high definition too. This is called the illusion of transparency. You believe your internal state is transparent to the audience. You think, they can see my anxiety. They know I'm shaking, but they can't. To the audience, you are in standard definition. Unless you literally fall off the stage or start screaming, they cannot see your internal state. They are too busy watching their own 4K movie about themselves. You feel an earthquake in your chest, heart rate 120 beats per minute. They see a person standing still. You feel your voice shaking uncontrollably. They hear a person speaking with a slight intonation. You feel like you paused for an eternity, 3 seconds. They hear a thoughtful pause. The gap between how you feel, chaos, and how you look, calm, is massive. But because you are stuck in the high-definition trap, you panic over pixels that the audience cannot even see. You must accept that you are a low-resolution JPEG to the rest of the world. And that is a good thing. It means you have a massive margin for error. You can be terrified, shaking, and sweating internally, and to the external world, you just look like you are thinking hard. The identity onion, changing from the inside out. If the solution is to move the spotlight and activate the TPN, why is it so hard? Why do we default to self-obsession every single time? It is because of how we view our identity. Most people try to solve social anxiety by changing their behavior or their results. They attack the problem from the outside in. We can visualize this as an identity onion with 3 layers. Layer 1. Outcomes. The outer skin. This is what you want to achieve. I want to stop shaking. I want them to clap. I want to get the girl. Most anxious people are obsessed with outcomes. They judge themselves by the result. If they shake, they failed. Layer 2. Processes. The middle layer. This is what you do. I will take a beta blocker. I will memorize my script. I will use a breathing technique. This is where most self-help advice lives. It gives you tactics. Layer 3. Identity. The core. This is what you believe you are. I am an anxious person. I am a fraud. I am a performer. Real, permanent change only happens at this 3rd layer. You have spent your life building an identity based on performance. You believe that social interaction is a show. You believe that you are a performer, and the people around you are the critics. The performer's job is to impress. The critic's job is to judge. The goal of the interaction is validation. This identity is a trap. As long as you identify as a performer, you will always be terrified, because a performer is only as good as their last show. A performer is always on trial. We are going to shift your identity. From this moment on, you are no longer a performer. You are an analyst. The analyst does not care about being good. The analyst cares about being accurate. The analyst does not need applause. The analyst needs data. The analyst is not the star of the show. The analyst is the technician solving a puzzle. When you walk into a room as an analyst, the pressure evaporates. If there is an awkward silence, you don't panic. You analyze it. Interesting. The conversation stalled. I wonder why. Is the topic dead? Is she tired? If someone frowns, you don't spiral. You analyze it. Is that a frown of disapproval or a frown of concentration? You are shifting from a subjective reality, they hate me, to an objective reality, they are looking at their phone. The performer begs for approval. The analyst hunts for truth. Sidebar: calibration versus manipulation. A warning before we proceed. As you learn the tools in this book, reading body language, managing silence, using curiosity, mirroring tone, you might feel a twinge of ethical hesitation. You might worry, isn't this just acting? Am I just learning how to manipulate people into liking me? If I'm analyzing them, isn't that cold? We must distinguish between manipulation and calibration. Manipulation is trying to control their opinion of you. It is egocentric. It asks, What do I say to make them think I'm smart? How do I trick them into buying this? This is the performer mindset. It is exhausting, inauthentic, and breeds anxiety because you are constantly maintaining a lie. Calibration is trying to optimize the delivery of the topic. It is topic-centric. It asks, how do I adjust my volume so they can hear the message? How do I adjust my speed so they can process the data? How do I frame this idea so it solves their problem? Think of a radio engineer. If the engineer adjusts the dials to clear up the static and make the music sound perfect, is he manipulating the audience? No. He is serving the music. He is removing the noise so the signal can get through. We are not teaching you to trick people. We are teaching you to tune the radio frequency so the static disappears and the music, the topic, comes through clearly. When you calibrate, you are being respectful. You are saying, I care enough about this interaction to speak your language. The ego script inventory. We have covered the theory. Now we must do the work. Most of your self-obsession happens subconsciously. It is a background hum of anxiety that you have learned to ignore. You don't even realize how much of your cognitive RAM is being stolen by the ego audit. To break the habit, we must first make it visible. We must drag that hum out into the light so we can dissect it. This is exercise 1.1, the dual audit. Do not skip this. If you skip this, you are just reading another book. If you do this, you are starting the reprogramming process. Instructions. 1. The time machine. Close your eyes and transport yourself back to the last social interaction that caused you deep anxiety. It could be a presentation, a networking event, a date, or even a difficult phone call. Relive the physical sensation of that moment. 2. The sheet. Take a blank sheet of paper and draw a vertical line down the middle. Label the left column, the ego script, internal channel S. Label the right column, the topic script, external channel T. 3. The transcript. In the left column, write down every specific thought you had about yourself, your body, or your performance. Be brutal. Include the vanity, the insecurity, and the physical monitoring. Examples. My shirt is sweating. I hope they think I'm smart. Why is my voice shaking? I need to get out of here. Do they like me? In the right column, write down every thought you had about the external reality, the actual subject matter, the other person's words, or the problem being solved. Examples. The quarterly projection is up 5%. She said she likes hiking. The room is cold. They are asking about the timeline. 4. The assessment. Count the number of bullet points in each column. The conclusion. If you are like most anxious people, your left column will be full, overflowing with red ink. Your right column will be nearly empty. You might have 15 thoughts about your sweating hands and only 2 thoughts about the actual conversation. Look at the paper. This is the proof. You were not anxious because the situation was dangerous. You were anxious because you were trying to perform a play called I Am Perfect instead of engaging with reality. You were bankrupting your RAM on a script that nobody else could hear. Your goal for the rest of this book is simple. We are going to burn the left column. We are going to train your brain so that the next time you walk into a room, the left column is silent and the right column is overflowing with data, curiosity, and action. You are done trying to be impressive. From now on, you are just going to be focused. Chapter 2. The Freedom of Non-Ownership. The Puppet Master Delusion. Imagine you are sitting in a conference room. It is 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. The fluorescent lights are humming with that low, headache-inducing frequency. You are about to present a proposal to your team, a project you have spent 3 weeks refining. As you stand up to speak, your brain begins a frantic, invisible calculation. It launches a background application that we call the Puppet Master Protocol. You look at Sarah, the skepticism manager on your left, and you think, she looks bored. Her eyes are glazing over. I need to smile more to make her engage. If I raise my pitch, maybe she'll wake up. You look at Mike, the senior VP at the head of the table, and you think, he's checking his watch. He hates this. I need to speak faster to prove I respect his time. I need to skip the second slide. You look at the intern in the corner and you think, he's frowning. Did I say something offensive? Is my fly down? I need to soften my tone so I don't seem aggressive. In this moment, you believe you are doing good work. You believe you are being socially aware, empathetic, and professional. You believe you are reading the room. But actually, you are suffering from a delusion. You are suffering from the puppet master delusion. You believe that there are invisible strings attached to the brains of everyone in that room, and that if you just pull the right strings, if you smile just right, talk at the perfect speed, use the perfect words, and modulate your tone to the exact decibel, you can control what they think, feel, and decide. You believe that their boredom is your fault. You believe that their skepticism is your failure. You believe that their internal emotional state is a project that you have been assigned to manage. This belief is the heaviest object in the universe. Trying to manage the thoughts and feelings of other people is like trying to hold back the tide with a spoon. It is impossible, it is exhausting, and it is the primary engine of your social anxiety. Every time you feel that crushing weight in your chest before a social interaction, it is because you have picked up a burden that does not belong to you. You have taken ownership of a property, the minds of others, to which you have no deed. This chapter is about the most radical move you can make in social psychology, the Great Resignation. It is time to resign from the job of general manager of the universe. It is time to accept the freedom of non-ownership, the line of jurisdiction. To understand why we take on this burden and how to drop it, we must establish a new mental model for human interaction. We call this the line of jurisdiction. In any interaction between two humans, there is a hard, invisible border that separates two territories. Territory A, your mind, your actions, your will. Territory B, their mind, their reactions, their will. Most interpersonal stress comes from a border dispute. You are constantly invading their territory, trying to police their thoughts, while abandoning your own territory. You are leaving your house unlocked and unguarded, so you can go stand on your neighbor's lawn and tell them how to mow their grass. We need to establish clear laws of governance. We need to look at what Adlerian psychology calls the separation of tasks. Your jurisdiction, my business. To speak the truth as you see it, to be clear and articulate, to be kind and respectful, to prepare your material thoroughly, to listen with intent, to offer your value, the topic, their jurisdiction, their business, to interpret what you said, to decide if they like it, to decide if they like you, to feel bored, excited, angry, or indifferent, to judge your status, to misunderstand you. The line of jurisdiction is absolute. You have 100% authority over your jurisdiction. You have 0% authority over their jurisdiction. Social anxiety arises when you try to cross the line. When you think, I need to make them like me, you have crossed the line. You have committed emotional trespassing. Liking you is an event that happens in their brain. It is a chemical and cognitive process occurring inside their skull. It is their job. You cannot do it for them. You can only do your job, being likable, being clear, but the final vote is theirs. When you think, I hope they don't think I'm stupid, you are trying to police their internal judicial system. You are trying to break into the courtroom of their mind, bribe the judge, and tamper with the jury. This intrusion is not just impossible, it is disrespectful. Yes, disrespectful. We often frame our anxiety as caring, but it is actually a form of control. When you obsess over managing someone else's reaction, you are essentially saying, You are not competent to handle your own emotions or form your own judgments. You are unpredictable and dangerous. Therefore, I must manipulate you into feeling the correct way so that I can feel safe. Real respect and real freedom comes when you stay on your side of the line. It comes when you say, I will give you my best, and I will respect your right to do whatever you want with it. The waiter analogy, the vessel versus the value. Let's create a concrete visualization for this, one that you can carry into every stressful situation to remind you of your role. We call it the waiter analogy. Imagine you are a waiter in a busy, chaotic hospital. A doctor rushes up to you and hands you a vial of rare, life-saving medicine. He points to a patient in the corner who is going into cardiac arrest and says, "Get this medicine to that patient immediately. It is the only thing that will save them." You grab the vial, you put it on a silver tray. You run across the room. Now, pause the scene. As you are running across the room, do you stop to check your reflection in the window? Do you worry that your shirt might be untucked? Do you worry that you have a small coffee stain on your tie? Do you worry that your voice might crack when you announce, "Here is the medicine"? None. Why? Because the value is the medicine. You are merely the vessel. If you deliver the medicine successfully and the patient survives, does it matter if your tie was stained? Does it matter if you stuttered? Does it matter if you were sweating profusely? No. The transaction was a success because the value was delivered. The patient received the topic. Now, apply this to your social anxiety. When you walk onto a stage to give a speech or into a date to share your life, you are the waiter. The topic is the medicine. If you are pitching a business idea, the medicine is the solution to the client's problem. If you are telling a joke at a party, the medicine is the moment of levity and joy. If you are giving honest feedback to an employee, the medicine is the clarity that will help them improve. If you are on a date, the medicine is your genuine attention and companionship. Social anxiety is the obsession with the waiter, not the medicine. When you freeze up, it is because you have dropped the medicine to check your tie. You have decided that how you look delivering the message is more important than the message itself. This is a tragedy. The audience, the patient, is waiting for the value. They have a problem, a need, or a desire that your topic can fulfill, but you are withholding it because you are too busy obsessing over the vessel. You are starving them because you are worried about the polish on the silver tray. You must adopt the waiter's mindset. I am just the delivery mechanism. I am the envelope. The topic is the letter. If the envelope gets crumpled but the letter arrives intact, I have succeeded. This mindset releases the pressure of perfection. The vessel doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be functional. You don't need to be the most charismatic speaker in the world. You just need to be clear enough to deliver the medicine. The God complex, the arrogance of anxiety. We need to address something uncomfortable. We tend to view social anxiety as a form of humility. We think, "I'm just so humble, I'm afraid I'm not good enough," or "I just care so much about what people think." I want to challenge that. I want to propose that social anxiety is actually a form of arrogance. When you walk into a room and believe that you can control what 20 different people think of you, you are claiming a superpower you do not possess. You are claiming telepathy, I know what you are thinking, and mind control, I can change what you are thinking. This is a God complex. Let's look at the reality of the human mind. The people you are talking to are not blank slates waiting for you to write on them. They are complex, chaotic biological machines running their own sophisticated internal operating systems. Their reactions to you are filtered through a million variables that have nothing to do with you. Their history, their childhood trauma, their relationship with their father, their trust issues, their physiology, their current blood sugar levels, their caffeine intake, their sleep deprivation, their context, the fight they had with their spouse this morning, the deadline looming over their head, the tight underwear they are wearing. Their bias, the fact that you remind them of their favorite cousin or their worst enemy. You could give the perfect speech with the perfect smile and the perfect data. Person A might love it because they love data. Person B might hate it because you remind them of their ex-husband. Person C might be bored because they are hungry. Person D might not hear a word because they are worried about their sick dog. You control none of this. To think that your performance is the sole factor determining their reaction is incredibly self-centered. It assumes that you are the main character in their movie. You aren't. You are just a bit player in the chaotic drama of their lives. When you accept that you cannot control their minds, that their judgment is a chaotic mix of variables that have nothing to do with you, you can finally let go. You realize I am not powerful enough to make everyone like me. And that realization is not depressing. It is liberating. If you aren't powerful enough to control the outcome, you are released from the responsibility of the outcome. The three domains of reality. To simplify the line of jurisdiction and make it actionable in real time, we can divide the universe into three distinct domains. This is a concept adapted from Stoic philosophy, specifically the dichotomy of control. In any given moment of your life, you are mentally living in one of these three places. 1. My domain, the internal. This encompasses everything within your immediate will. What I say, what I wear, how I prepare, where I look, how I breathe, my intentions. 2. Your domain, the interpersonal. This encompasses everything within the other person's will. What you think, how you feel, whether you laugh, whether you buy, whether you offer me the job. 3. The domain of chaos, the external, nature. This encompasses the laws of physics and circumstance, the weather, the traffic, the internet connection speed, the fact that you have a stutter, the fact that you spilled coffee, the time of day. Social anxiety is almost always the result of being mentally located in a domain that is not yours. When you are worried about your speech, pause and ask yourself, whose domain am I in right now? I am worried I will forget my lines. My domain. Good. This is actionable. Study more. Practice more. I am worried they will think I'm boring. Their domain. Get out of there. You are trespassing. You cannot vote in their election. I am worried the projector will break. The domain of chaos. Bring a handout back up, then let it go. You cannot control electronics. If you are mentally in their domain, who is home-minding your domain? No one. That's why you fumble. That's why you lose your place. You have abandoned your post to go try and micromanage theirs. Stay in your domain. It is the only place where you have any power. Validation versus feedback, the crucial distinction. A common objection arises here. If I stop caring what people think, won't I become a sociopath? Won't I just ignore everyone and act like a jerk? This is the fear that stops people from letting go. They equate anxiety with caring. They think that if they aren't torturing themselves, they aren't trying. We need to distinguish between two different types of incoming signals. Channel S, validation, and Channel T, feedback. We are firing the ego, not the analyst. We are not ignoring the audience. We are changing what we are listening for. Channel S, validation, self-esteem. This channel is emotional food for the self. It asks, do you like me? Am I good enough? Am I safe? Do I look smart? This is the channel of the anxious performer. It is binary, approval or rejection. When you tune into this channel, you are fragile. Every frown is a wound. We must starve this channel. We do not need this from the audience. We supply this for ourselves. Channel T, feedback, data transfer. This channel is data for the topic. It asks, did you understand the sentence? Was the volume loud enough? Do you agree with the premise? Are you confused? This is the channel of the focused messenger. It is not personal. It is technical. It is a gauge on a dashboard. The scenario. You are explaining a complex idea to a client. You notice the client frowns. The anxious response. Listening to channel S. The ego sees the frown and interprets it as a rejection of the self. Internal monologue. Oh no, he hates me. He thinks I'm stupid. I'm losing the contract. I knew I wasn't ready for this. Panic. Talk faster. Apologize. Result. You become erratic, desperate, and defensive. You lose the frame. The focused response, listening to channel T. The analyst sees the frown and interprets it as data about the topic. Internal monologue. I see a frown. This indicates a blockage in the transmission of the topic. Either he disagrees with the data, or I wasn't clear. Or maybe he just has a headache. Action. You stop. You ask, I see you're frowning. Which part of that last point didn't land with you? Let's clarify it. Do you see the difference? The focused speaker uses the other person's reaction as a gauge to adjust the delivery of the medicine. The anxious speaker uses the reaction as a verdict on their soul. We want you to be highly sensitive to feedback so you can be an effective communicator. But to do that, you must be completely numb to validation. When channel S is loud, high need for validation, it creates static that blocks channel T. You are so busy wondering if they like you that you don't notice they are confused. By muting the desire to be liked, you actually become more effective at connecting because you can finally hear the signal. The paradox of influence. Control versus influence. There is a subtle trap in letting go. You might think, okay, I can't control them, so I should just give up on trying to persuade them. No. There is a massive difference between control and influence. Control. Trying to force a specific outcome. Binary. Success, failure. This creates tension. Influence. Optimizing the input to maximize the probability of an outcome. Probabilistic. Better, worse. This creates flow. Think of a farmer. Can a farmer control the harvest? No. A drought, a storm, or a blight could destroy the crop no matter what he does. That is nature's domain. If the farmer tries to control the harvest, he will be anxious every time he sees a cloud. But does the farmer just sit on his porch and do nothing? No. He exercises influence. He tills the soil. He plants the best seeds. He waters them. He builds fences. He optimizes everything within his domain to give the crop the best possible chance of growing. And then he sleeps, because he knows that once the seed is in the ground, the rest is not up to him. You are a social farmer. You prepare the speech, soil. You dress well, fences. You speak clearly, water. You bring your best energy, seeds, and then you let go. Whether the audience buys it is the harvest. You cannot force the harvest. When you shift from control to influence, you retain your power, your actions, but lose your burden, the outcome. You work harder, but you worry less. Case studies in non-ownership. Let's apply the freedom of non-ownership to 3 distinct high-pressure scenarios to see how the mechanics work in practice. We will contrast the owner's mindset, anxiety, with the non-owner's mindset, focus. Case Study 1. The stutter, public speaking. The context: Mark has a mild stutter that worsens when he is nervous. He has to give a quarterly update to his department. The owner's mindset. Anxiety. Mark believes it is his job to ensure the audience sees him as fluent and perfect. He believes a stutter will cause the audience to feel pity or annoyance, and he takes responsibility for preventing those feelings. Internal monologue. I must not stutter. If I stutter, I have failed. I must control my tongue. The result: he fights the stutter. He exerts massive energy trying to hide it. When he inevitably stumbles, he feels he has failed the audience. He apologizes. The audience feels awkward because he feels awkward. The vibe in the room dies. The non-owner's mindset. Focus. Mark adopts the line of jurisdiction. Mark's task: deliver the Q3 numbers accurately and highlight the new risk factors. The medicine. Audience's task: process the numbers. Decide if they care about the stutter. The action: Mark walks up. He stutters on the word revenue. He does not apologize. He does not cringe. He simply repeats the word until it clears and then continues to the data. He treats the stutter like a hiccup in the Wi-Fi, a mechanical issue, not a moral one. The outcome: because Mark doesn't care about the stutter, the audience stops caring about the stutter. They focus on the numbers because he is focused on the numbers. He has refused to take ownership of their potential awkwardness, so the awkwardness vanishes. Case Study 2. The People Pleaser, the Dinner Party. The context: Lisa is at a dinner party with her husband's new boss. There is a lull in the conversation. Silence stretches for 6 seconds. The owner's mindset. Anxiety. Lisa believes she is the hostess of the universe. She believes silence is a sign of failure, and that if the boss is bored, it is a reflection on her value. She takes ownership of the vibe of the table. Internal monologue. Oh God, it's quiet. He's bored. He hates us. I need to save this. Say something funny. The result: she panic talks. She asks a random shallow question just to fill the air. She laughs too loud at a joke that wasn't funny. She leaves the party exhausted, feeling like a fraud. The non-owner's mindset. Focus. Lisa adopts the line of jurisdiction. Lisa's task: be present. Answer questions honestly. Offer a topic if she has a genuine one. The boss's task: entertain himself. Manage his own boredom. Initiate conversation if he wants to. The action. The silence hits. Lisa sips her wine. She observes the silence. She notices the boss is looking at the painting on the wall. She waits. She does not rush to rescue him from the quiet. The outcome. The boss turns and says, "That painting reminds me of my childhood home." A real, deep conversation begins. Lisa allowed the space for it to happen because she refused to take responsibility for the silence. Case Study 3. The negotiation, the conflict. The context: James is asking for a raise. The manager looks angry and says, "We don't have the budget for this right now." The owner's mindset. Anxiety. James believes he is responsible for the manager's anger. He thinks, "I upset him. I'm greedy. I've damaged the relationship." Internal monologue. He's mad. I overstepped. I need to fix his anger. The result: James backpedals. "Oh, I understand. Maybe next year." He retreats to save the relationship, sacrificing his needs. The non-owner's mindset. Focus. James separates the tasks. James's task: present the data of his value and the market rate for his role. Manager's task: manage the budget. Manage his anger or stress about finances. The action: James sees the anger. He respects it, but he does not eat it. He looks at the no as data about the budget, the topic, not a rejection of James. The outcome: James holds his ground. I understand the budget constraints, accepting their task. However, based on the revenue I generated in Q2, James's task, the market value is X. If a raise isn't possible now, can we map out a guaranteed timeline for Q3? Protocol 2.1, the suitcase drop. We end this chapter with a protocol designed to physically rewire your brain's ownership map. This uses the concept of embodied cognition, using physical movement to change mental states. You cannot just think your way out of ownership. You must visualize the transfer of the burden. The concept. Every time you feel the ping of social fear, stomach tightening, heart racing, it is because you have mentally picked up a heavy suitcase labeled "their opinion." You are carrying it for them. You need to put it down. The drill's Step 1. Detect the theft. Catch yourself in the act of mind reading. Cue. They think I'm boring, or I need to make them smile. Label. Stop. I am stealing their thoughts. That is theft. That is their property. Step 2. Define the jurisdiction. Mentally visualize a courtroom. You are the lawyer for your actions. They are the judge and jury of their opinions. You are not allowed in the jury room. It is illegal for you to be there. If you try to enter, you will be arrested by anxiety. Step 3. The physical release, the drop. If you are alone, in a bathroom stall, car, or office, physically mime the action of handing over a heavy box. Hold your hands out in front of you, palms up as if holding a heavy weight. Feel the tension in your arms. Say out loud, "Here, this is yours. You handle it." Drop your hands to your sides. Shake them out. Feel the lightness. Step 4. The return to post. Immediately ask yourself, what is my job right now? Answer, my job is to listen. Or, my job is to finish this sentence. Or, my job is to breathe. Lock your eyes on a physical object related to that job. The person's eyes, the slide clicker, the notebook. The void you leave behind. When you stop trying to control other people, you create a vacuum. You create a space. At first, this space feels terrifying. It feels like the void. You feel exposed because you aren't hiding behind the shield of trying to be impressive. You aren't dancing to entertain them. You aren't filling every silence with chatter. You are just there. But in that space, something miraculous happens. Because you aren't trying to pull their strings, they relax. They feel safe with you. They realize you aren't trying to get anything from them. Validation. You aren't a beggar with a tin cup asking for approval. You are a sovereign entity. And in that safety, real connection happens. Real charisma emerges. Charisma is not trying hard to be liked. Charisma is the energy of someone who is completely comfortable in their own domain. Charisma is the magnetism of a person who has accepted the separation of tasks. You have resigned from the job of general manager of the universe. You are just the waiter. The medicine is on the tray. Go deliver it. Chapter 3, The Myth of the Confident Feeling. The Great Deception. Let's go back to the moment before the door opens. You are standing in the hallway. In 30 seconds, you have to walk into a room and pitch your idea, or introduce yourself to a stranger, or give a toast. You check your internal dashboard. You are looking for a specific green light. You are looking for the feeling of confidence. You want to feel calm. You want to feel certain. You want to feel a sense of cool, collected authority. You check your stomach for butterflies. You check your hands for tremors. You check your mind for doubt. And what do you find? Chaos. You find a stomach that feels like it's full of broken glass. You find hands that are vibrating with excess energy. You find a mind that is racing through a greatest hits compilation of your past failures. So, you pause. You tell yourself, I'm not ready yet. I need to calm down first. I need to get in the zone. I'll just wait a minute until this feeling passes. You take a deep breath. You try to force the feeling away. You wrestle with it. You plead with it. Please, you think. Just go away so I can be myself. But the feeling doesn't go away. In fact, it gets louder. The more you try to suppress the anxiety, the more it pushes back, like a beach ball held under water. This moment, the moment of waiting for the fear to leave, is the single greatest cause of failure in your life. You have fallen for the myth of the confident feeling. You believe that confidence is a feeling that must exist before you take action. You believe it is a prerequisite, like fuel in a car. You think, I can't drive to the store because I don't have any gas. I am here to tell you that this model of human psychology is backward. It is a lie. Confidence is not the fuel. Confidence is the exhaust. Confidence is not the thing that starts the engine. It is the residue left behind after the car has already driven up the mountain. If you are waiting to feel confident before you do the scary thing, you will wait forever. You will die in the waiting room. This chapter is about flipping the equation. It is about learning to drive the car with an empty tank of confidence and a full tank of courage. The confidence gap. To understand why we get stuck, we need to define our terms. We use the word confidence to mean two very different things, and this linguistic confusion ruins us. Definition A: the feeling of confidence. This is an emotional state. It feels like safety. It feels like certainty. It feels like a lack of anxiety. It is the absence of fear. Example: you feel confident brushing your teeth. You feel confident tying your shoes. You feel confident talking to your best friend. Definition B: the action of confidence. This is a behavioral state. It is the act of doing something valuable despite the presence of fear. It is trust in one's ability to figure it out. Example: a firefighter running into a burning building is not calm. He is terrified, but he is acting confidently. The gap between these two definitions is the confidence gap. You want definition A, the feeling, before you commit to definition B, the action. But human biology demands you pay the price first. You must perform the action of confidence, courage, repeatedly, over time, to earn the feeling of confidence, competence. The loop of mastery: action, courage. You do the thing while terrified. Result: data. You survive, you learn. Competence, skill. You get slightly better at it. Feeling, confidence. Eventually, after 100 reps, the fear recedes. You cannot hack this loop. You cannot skip to step 4. You cannot think your way into competence. You can only act your way there. The goal of this book is not to make you feel definition A, calm. The goal is to enable you to execute definition B, action, while feeling absolute terror. The struggle switch. If the logic is so simple, just do it. Why is it so hard? Why does the anxiety feel so paralyzing? To understand the paralysis, we need to look at a concept from acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, called the struggle switch. Anxiety on its own is just a biological event. It is a surge of chemicals: adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. It is a faster heartbeat. It is a tightening of the muscles. Evolutionarily, this is a neutral event. It is simply your body mobilizing resources. It is the fight or flight response preparing you for a challenge. The problem arises when your ego flips the struggle switch. Scenario A. The switch is off, clean discomfort. You have to give a speech. Sensation: your heart beats fast. Your hands sweat. Interpretation: my body is energized. I am getting ready. Action: you give the speech. The anxiety rises, peaks, and falls naturally. Result: you feel clean discomfort. It is intense, but it flows. Scenario B. The switch is on, dirty discomfort. You have to give a speech. Sensation: your heart beats fast. Interpretation: oh no, this is bad. Why is my heart beating so fast? I must be weak. People will see this. I have to stop this immediately. If I don't calm down, I will fail. Action: you fight the feeling. You tense up to stop the shaking. You hold your breath to stop the panic. Result: you feel dirty discomfort. Now you are not just anxious about the speech. You are anxious about your anxiety. You have created a meta-emotion, fear of fear. You start fighting the feeling. You try to push it down. But trying to suppress anxiety is like trying to push a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more force it exerts back against your hands, and if your hand slips, it flies into your face. This internal struggle consumes 100% of your RAM, Chapter 1. You are no longer focused on the topic. You are locked in a wrestling match with your own nervous system. The key to fuck the spotlight is to leave the struggle switch off. We do not try to eliminate the anxiety. We eliminate the struggle against the anxiety. We accept the adrenaline as the price of admission. We say, okay, my heart is racing. That is allowed. I am taking this racing heart with me onto the stage. The passenger analogy, driving with the demon. To operationalize this, we need a new mental model for your internal life. We need to stop viewing your mind as a monologue and start viewing it as a vehicle. Imagine your life is a bus. You are the driver. Your hands are on the wheel. Your feet are on the pedals. You decide where the bus goes. Your destination is the topic, the value you want to create, the connection you want to make. But you are not alone on the bus. In the back of the bus, there are passengers. Some are helpful, creativity, logic. But there is one passenger who is loud, ugly, and terrifying. This is the anxiety monster. He has claws. He has sharp teeth. And he knows exactly what you are afraid of. As long as you drive the bus in circles around your house, the comfort zone, the monster stays asleep in the back. He is quiet. You feel safe. But the moment you turn the wheel toward a high-stakes interaction, a date, a pitch, a conflict, the monster wakes up. He rushes to the front of the bus, right behind your ear, and he starts screaming. Turn back! You're going to crash! Everyone is laughing at you. You aren't ready? You look stupid. If you keep going, I will bite you. Here is the choice that defines your social life. Option A, the argument, the amateur move. You stop the bus, you turn around and start arguing with the monster. No, I don't look stupid. Please be quiet. I'm trying to focus. Go away. I need to feel confident. While you are arguing, the bus is idling. You aren't moving toward the topic. And guess what? The monster loves to argue. He is tireless. He will argue with you forever. You will never win the debate because the monster is irrational. Option B, the ejection, the fantasy move. You try to throw the monster off the bus, you drink alcohol, you take beta blockers, you meditate for 3 hours trying to reach Zen. You refuse to drive until the monster is gone. But the monster is glued to the seat. He is part of your biology. He isn't going anywhere. So you stay in the driveway, waiting for a miracle. Option C, the FK-IT drive, the master move. You look in the rearview mirror. You see the monster. You hear him screaming that you are going to die. You see his claws. You say, I hear you. You are allowed to scream. You are allowed to be here. But you do not have a steering wheel, and you do not touch the radio. And then, you keep driving. You take the monster with you to the speech. You take him on the date. You take him into the negotiation. He screams the whole way. We're gonna die. Turn left. Retreat. You feel the fear. You feel the tension. But your hands stay on the wheel and your eyes stay on the road. This is the core discipline. You can function effectively while feeling terrible. Your internal state does not dictate your external competence. You can give an articulate, helpful, moving presentation while your internal passenger is shrieking at 100 decibels. Eventually, a strange thing happens. When you drive for miles without obeying the monster's directions, he gets bored. He realizes his screaming doesn't work. He realizes you aren't listening. He quiets down. He curls up in the back seat and goes to sleep. That silence is confidence. But you only get there by driving through the noise. Expansion. Making room for the monster. So how do we keep driving when the monster is physically painful? When the knot in the stomach is so tight you can't breathe? We use a technique called expansion. When anxiety hits, your instinct is to contract. You curl your shoulders. You tighten your stomach. You clench your jaw. You try to squeeze the feeling out of your body. Contraction signals to the brain. This feeling is an enemy. Fight it. This flips the struggle switch on. Expansion is the opposite. It is the physical act of making room for the feeling. It signals to the brain, this feeling is a guest. Let it be. The expansion protocol. Observe. Scan your body. Where is the monster sitting right now? Is it a knot in the stomach? A band around the chest? A lump in the throat? Locate the epicenter of the sensation. Breathe into it. Imagine your breath is a fluid. Direct your inhale deep into the center of the knot. Don't try to blow the knot away. Imagine you are inflating a balloon around the knot. Create space for it. Allow. Say to yourself, I make room for this sensation. Drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Open your hands. Let the sensation exist. It sounds counterintuitive. Why would I make room for pain? Because when you stop squeezing the knot stops fighting back. It transforms from agony, dirty pain, into pressure, clean pain. You can give a speech with pressure in your chest. You cannot give a speech while trying to crush your own chest. Cognitive diffusion, unhooking from the story. The passenger doesn't just give you physical symptoms, he gives you stories. You are boring. They hate you. You are going to fail. We often fuse with these thoughts. We treat them as facts. Thought, I am a fraud. Fused reality. It is an objective fact that I am a fraud. Cognitive diffusion is the skill of looking at your thoughts rather than from your thoughts. It is seeing the thought as just words passing through your mind, like subtitles on a screen, rather than objective reality. Technique 1. The I am having the thought frame. When the passenger screams, everyone thinks you are boring, rephrase it immediately. Fused. Everyone thinks I am boring. Diffused. I am having the thought that everyone thinks I am boring. This subtle linguistic shift creates distance. It reminds you that this is just a neural event, not a truth. Technique 2. The silly voice. This sounds ridiculous, but it is neurologically potent. Take the terrifying thought, I am going to fail, and say it inside your head in the voice of a cartoon character. Use Mickey Mouse, or SpongeBob, or a ridiculous British announcer. I am going to fail! In a squeaky Mickey Mouse voice. Try to take that thought seriously now. You can't. By changing the context of the thought, you strip it of its authority. You realize it is just noise. Technique 3. The pop-up ad. Treat your intrusive thoughts like pop-up ads on a computer. When a thought appears, you look fat in this shirt. Do not argue with it. Do not click on it. Do not try to analyze the HTML code of the ad. Just acknowledge it. Oh, there's a pop-up about my shirt. And keep working. You don't have to close the ad to keep typing. You can work with the pop-up in the corner of the screen. Values-based action, the compass. If you aren't steering the bus by your feelings, which are screaming, run away, what do you steer by? You steer by your values. In the fog of anxiety, feelings are unreliable. They are weather. They change every 10 minutes. Values are geography. They are north, south, east, west. They never change. You must distinguish between a goal and a value. Goal. I want them to like me. External, uncontrollable, future-based. Value. I want to be courageous and authentic. Internal, controllable, now-based. When you are terrified, you ask, what value do I want to embody right now? If the value is connection, you stay in the conversation even though you want to hide. If the value is integrity, you speak the truth even though your voice shakes. If the value is kindness, you smile at the stranger even though you feel awkward. Your values are the GPS. Your feelings are just the road conditions. You drive according to the GPS, regardless of the storm. The and technique. There is a linguistic trap that keeps us stuck in the waiting room. It is the word but. I want to go to the party, but I am anxious. I want to ask for the raise, but I am afraid. The word but creates a conflict. It implies that the two things cannot coexist. It implies that the anxiety must be removed before the action can happen. It turns the passenger into a roadblock. We need to replace but with and. I want to go to the party, and I am anxious. I want to ask for the raise, and I am afraid. The word and creates space. It allows both realities to exist simultaneously. It means you can bring the passenger with you. The and exercise. Write down 3 things you have avoided because of anxiety. Old script. I can't speak up because I'm nervous. New script. I am nervous and I am going to speak up. This is the essence of courage. Courage is not no fear. Courage is fear and action. Case studies. The passenger in real life. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. We will contrast the resistance approach, fighting the passenger, with the acceptance approach, driving the bus. Case study 1. The networking event. The situation. You are walking into a networking mixer. You don't know anyone. The trigger. You step through the door. The passenger screams immediately. Abort! Abort! You look awkward. Everyone has a group already. Go to the bathroom and hide. Check your phone. The resistance approach. Struggle switch on. You hesitate in the doorway. You think, why am I so awkward? I need to calm down. You go to the bar and drink a beer quickly to numb the feeling. You stand in the corner, scrolling through Instagram, waiting to feel social. You leave early, feeling defeated. The acceptance approach. Struggle switch off. Acknowledge. You feel the stomach drop. You say, hello, panic. I see you're riding shotgun today. Expansion. You breathe into the tightness in your chest. You don't try to relax. You just let the tightness be there. Values. Check. My value tonight is curiosity. I am here to learn about one new business. Action proceeds. Feeling. You do not wait to feel calm. You scan the room for a topic anchor, a person standing alone. The 5-second courage launch. You count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You physically move your feet toward the target. Result, your heart is pounding the entire time. Your hands are shaking as you reach for a drink. But you are in the room. You ask a question. The conversation starts. 5 minutes later, you realize you haven't heard the passenger scream for a while. You were too busy listening to the answer. Case study 2. The difficult conversation. The situation. You need to tell your boss that the deadline is unrealistic. The trigger. You open Slack or walk to their office. The passenger. He's going to yell at you. You're going to get fired. Just work the weekend. Don't make waves. The resistance approach. You procrastinate. You write the email and delete it 5 times. You think, I'll send it when I feel more confident. You wait until 5 p.m. on Friday. The anxiety builds all week. The acceptance approach. Diffusion. You hear the thought, you're going to get fired. You label it, I am having the thought that I will be fired. You recognize it as a passenger story, not a fact. The and reframe. I am terrified of conflict, and I am going to protect my team's time. The action. You walk into the office. You are shaking. You speak anyway. Result. You might stutter. You might sweat. But you deliver the message. The boss respects the boundary. You survive. Your brain learns that conflict death. Protocol 3.1. The 5-second courage launch. How do you physically bridge the gap between sitting on the couch and driving the bus? How do you initiate movement when you are frozen? We use a tool popularized by Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. The moment you have the impulse to act, to raise your hand, to say hello, to step onto the stage, you have a 5-second window before your brain kills the idea. In those 5 seconds, the passenger will wake up and grab the emergency brake. You must move before the passenger takes control. The protocol, the impulse, you see the opportunity. The countdown. Count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Counting backward interrupts the limbic system, emotional brain, and engages the prefrontal cortex, logic brain. It requires focus. You cannot count backward and obsess over fear at the same time. The launch. On 1, you move physically. You stand up, you walk, you open your mouth, you send the text. Do not wait for 0. Do not wait to feel good. You are a rocket. Rockets do not feel like launching. They launch because the countdown hit 1. Use this today. Use it to get out of bed. Use it to speak up in a meeting. Use it to approach someone. The death of ready. You must kill the version of yourself that needs to be ready. Readiness is a fantasy. It is the horizon. It moves away from you as you approach it. The people you admire, the ones who seem so fearless, are not ready. They are just moving. They have accepted the terms of the deal. The price of admission to a meaningful life is the willingness to feel awkward, scared, and exposed. If you are willing to pay that price, if you are willing to let the passenger scream while you keep your foot on the gas, there is no limit to where you can drive. Stop waiting for the feeling. Fuck the feeling. Focus on the topic. Drive the car. Part 2. The internal shift. Body and mind. Chapter 4. The adrenaline anchor. The engine room of fear. You are backstage, or you are in the waiting room, or you are standing outside the heavy oak door of the boss's office, and your body is betraying you. It starts with a subtle vibration in the fingertips. Then, the heat rises up the back of your neck like a fever. Your heart begins to hammer against your ribs. Not a rhythmic beat, but a frantic, trapped bird fluttering that you can feel pulsing in your throat. Your knees feel weak, almost jelly-like, as if gravity has suddenly increased. Your mouth is dry, as if you've been eating sand, and your tongue feels too thick for your mouth. In this moment, your brain tells you a story. It is a story you have believed your entire life, and it is the most damaging lie in the history of human performance. The story is, my body is breaking down. I am weak. I am terrified. I am about to fail. You interpret these physical sensations as evidence of your incompetence. You think, if I were a real professional, I wouldn't be shaking. If I were truly confident, my heart rate would be 60 beats per minute. The fact that I am sweating means I am a fraud. I am here to tell you that this interpretation is biologically false. Your body is not breaking down. Your body is powering up. What you are feeling is not weakness. It is a massive evolutionary dump of high-grade fuel. It is your system mobilizing every ounce of available energy to help you survive and conquer a challenge. The shaking? That is your fast-twitch muscle fibers priming for explosive action. The racing heart? That is your system pumping extra oxygenated blood to your brain for hyperfocus. The sweating? That is your cooling system pre-activating to prevent overheating during exertion. The tunnel vision? That is your brain eliminating distractions to lock on to the target. You are not a broken car on the side of the road. You are a Ferrari sitting at the starting line, revving the engine to 7,000 RPMs while holding the brake. The vibration you feel is not fragility. It is contained power. The problem is not the energy. The problem is that you are trying to suppress it instead of using it. This chapter is the engine room of the book. We are going to stop trying to calm down. Calming down is for sleeping. You are here to perform. We are going to learn energy transmutation, how to take that raw, terrifying adrenaline and anchor it to the topic, turning fear into charisma, projection, and power. The mechanics of the surge, the HPA axis. To master the feeling, you must understand the machinery. You cannot drive a high-performance vehicle if you don't understand the engine. You need to know exactly what is happening under the hood when the panic sets in, when the amygdala, the threat detector we discussed in Chapter 1, perceives a high-stakes social situation, like a room full of eyes looking at you. It signals the hypothalamus. This triggers a chemical cascade known as the HPA axis, hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal. In milliseconds, your adrenal glands flood your bloodstream with two primary chemicals: adrenaline, epinephrine, the instant activator. It spikes heart rate and blood pressure to prepare muscles for movement. Cortisol, the sustained stress hormone. It keeps you alert and mobilizes glucose for quick energy. This is the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, kicking into overdrive. This system evolved for one purpose: survival. It is designed to help you fight a wolf or run from a bear. The evolutionary mismatch. The problem is that you are not fighting a wolf. You are giving a PowerPoint presentation on Q3 logistics. The wolf scenario. The adrenaline hits. You run. The physical exertion burns off the adrenaline. Your body returns to baseline. The system works perfectly. The PowerPoint scenario. The adrenaline hits. You stand perfectly still behind a podium. You do not run. You do not fight. You are frozen. Because you are stationary, the energy has nowhere to go. It gets trapped in your muscles. This trapped energy manifests as the tremor, shaking hands, and the quaver, shaking voice. The jitters are simply kinetic energy waiting for a release valve. The triage protocol: mental versus physical anxiety. Before we fix the symptoms, we must address a contradiction. In Chapter 3, we learned about the passenger, mental anxiety thoughts, and were told to ignore him and keep driving. In this chapter, we are talking about the surge, physical anxiety symptoms, and I am telling you to manage it. This confuses people. Do I ignore the fear, or do I treat it? To solve this, we use the triage protocol. You must diagnose which type of anxiety is spiking, because the cure for one is the poison for the other. Category A, the passenger, mental, cognitive. Symptoms: worried thoughts, catastrophic predictions. What if they hate me? I am a fraud. The strategy: diffusion and disengagement. Why? You cannot fight thoughts. Arguing with thoughts makes them stronger. The struggle switch. You must let them chatter in the background while you focus on the topic. See Chapter 3. Category B, the engine, physical, somatic. Symptoms: shaking hands, tight throat, sweating, racing heart, dizziness. The strategy: transmutation and anchoring. Why? You cannot ignore a shaking hand if it is holding a microphone. You cannot ignore a tight throat if you cannot speak. Physical symptoms require a physical intervention. You must burn the fuel or channel it. The rule: if it is in your head, ignore it. If it is in your body, use it. This chapter is exclusively for Category B. We are not analyzing why you are shaking. We are simply fixing the shake. The paradox of suppression, ironic process theory. When the adrenaline hits, your instinct is to hide it. You clench your hands to stop the shaking. You hold your breath to steady your voice. You stiffen your legs to stop the knees from knocking. You try to force yourself to appear calm. This is the worst thing you can do. Psychologists call this ironic process theory, or the white bear effect. If you tell yourself, "Don't think of a white bear," you will think of nothing else. If you tell your body, "Don't shake," your brain must constantly monitor your body to ensure it isn't shaking. This monitoring requires hypervigilance. The command: "Don't shake." The monitor: the brain scans for shaking. The detection: it detects a micro-tremor. The alarm: "Oh no, we are shaking. This is a threat. Send more adrenaline to fix it." The result? You shake more. By trying to suppress the energy, you create a feedback loop that amplifies it. You cannot fight biology with willpower. You are trying to cap a volcano with a piece of tape. You must work with the biology. You must stop suppressing and start directing. The Yerkes-Dodson law: why calm is boring. Here is the science that disproves the calm down myth. In 1908, Psychologists Robert Yerkes and John Dodson discovered a universal relationship between arousal, stress, adrenaline, and performance. Zone 1. Low arousal. Calm, bored. Performance is low. You are sluggish, unobservant, and slow to react. You lack presence. If you gave a speech in this state, you would put the audience to sleep. Zone 2. Optimal arousal. Pumped, flow. Performance peaks. Your focus is sharp, your reaction time is instant, and your cognitive processing speed increases. This is the zone of athletes, performers, and leaders. Zone 3. Extreme arousal. Panic. Performance crashes. Cognitive collapse. The insight. You need the adrenaline to perform at your peak. If you were completely calm, Zone 1, before a major speech, you would be boring. You would lack the spark or edge that creates a compelling presence. Your goal is not to hit zero arousal. Your goal is to stay in Zone 2, riding the wave of adrenaline without letting it crash into panic. The vibration you feel is the hum of the machine operating at maximum efficiency. Do not try to turn it off. Technique 1. Biological relabeling. If the biology of fear, high heart rate, sweating, tension, is physiologically identical to the biology of excitement, why do they feel so different emotionally? The difference lies entirely in the cognitive label you assign to the sensation. A famous study conducted by Alison Wood Brooks at Harvard Business School demonstrated this. She took subjects who were terrified of public speaking and divided them into 3 groups before a speech. Group 1. Told to tell themselves, I am calm. Group 2. Told to tell themselves, I am excited. Group 3. Control group, no instruction. The result? Group 1 failed. Trying to go from high arousal, terror, to low arousal, calm, is a biological impossibility. It's like trying to stop a freight train instantly. The brain detects the lie, I am not calm, my heart is exploding, which creates more cognitive dissonance and anxiety. Group 2 succeeded. They performed significantly better than the others. Why? Because shifting from anxious to excited is not a change in physiology, it is simply a change in perspective. You are staying at high arousal, keeping the energy, but flipping the sign from negative, threat, to positive, opportunity. The relabeling protocol. From this moment on, you are forbidden from saying, I am nervous. The word nervous is a signal to your brain to retreat. It engages the flight response. When you feel the surge, you must use the words, I am pumped. I am primed. I am activated. I am ready. You are interpreting the physical data as preparation, not malfunction. Technique 2. The alchemist's transmutation. The ancient alchemists tried to turn lead into gold. We are going to do something more practical. Turn adrenaline into charisma. Adrenaline is simply raw energy. It is neutral. It only becomes anxiety when you bottle it up. It becomes charisma when you project it outward. The directional flow of energy. Anxiety equals energy. Directed inward. You are holding the energy in your chest, tightening your muscles, trying to suppress the shaking. The pressure builds until you implode. Charisma equals energy directed outward. You release the energy through your voice, your gestures, and your eye contact. We are going to look at the 3 most common symptoms of the surge: the shaking voice, the shaking hands, and the freeze, and learn how to transmute each one. Symptom A. The shaking voice, the quaver. The physics. Your voice shakes because your diaphragm is tight, holding tension, and you are not using enough air pressure. You are trying to speak quietly or normally while your engine is revving. The engine is vibrating the chassis. The cure. Volume and projection. If your voice is shaking, it means there is too much pressure in the throat. Push harder. Do not try to quiet your voice to hide the shake. That makes it worse. Speak 20% louder than you think is necessary. Use the adrenaline to project your voice to the back wall. Why it works. Increasing the volume forces you to engage the diaphragm fully and push more air. The increased air pressure stabilizes the vocal cords. You are turning the shake into power. The audience will not hear nervousness. They will hear intensity. Symptom B, the shaking hands, the tremor. The physics. Your hands shake because the fight response has flooded your large muscle groups, biceps, legs, with blood, preparing for gross motor movement, punching, running. It has withdrawn control from fine motor skills, holding a paper. Your body wants to hit something, but you are asking it to hold a laser pointer. The cure. Gross motor gestures. If your hands are shaking, do not put them in your pockets. That hides the energy and increases internal pressure. Do not try to hold a piece of paper still. That requires fine motor control. Instead, use expansive, large gestures. Use your arms to chop the air to emphasize a point. Open your arms wide to welcome the audience. Why it works. You are giving the large muscles the job they were primed for, movement. When you move your arms dynamically, the tremor disappears into the motion. You look passionate, not terrified. Symptom C, the freeze, the disconnect. The physics. You feel floaty, dizzy, or out of body. This is dissociation. Your brain is so focused on internal threat detection that it loses track of your physical body in space. The cure. The floor spike. We need to reactivate your proprioception, your body's sense of position. Stance. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. Grip. Curl your toes inside your shoes. Grip the floor hard. Visualization. Imagine two heavy steel spikes driving down through your heels, through the floorboards, and anchoring deep into the concrete foundation. Why it works. The brain has limited bandwidth. By forcing it to process the strong physical sensation of your feet gripping the floor, you steal resources away from the catastrophic thinking in your head. You literally ground the electrical circuit. Technique 3. The vagus nerve brake, the 478 protocol. While we want to use the adrenaline, zone 2, we need to prevent the amygdala hijack from tipping us over the edge into total panic, zone 3. We need a brake pedal that we can tap lightly to maintain control without stopping the car. That brake pedal is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the main highway of the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. It connects your brain to your heart and lungs. When you exhale slowly, you stimulate the vagus nerve, which releases acetylcholine. This chemical slows your heart rate and lowers blood pressure. Most people take a deep breath. Wrong. They inhale deeply, which activates the sympathetic stress system, and exhale quickly. This actually increases anxiety. To trigger the brake, the exhale must be longer than the inhale. The 478 protocol. This technique is precise. Do not improvise. Inhale, nose, 4 seconds. Breathe in deeply and quietly through your nose. Focus on expanding your diaphragm, belly, not your chest. Mental cue, I am taking in control. Hold, 7 seconds. Hold the breath. This allows oxygen to fully saturate the bloodstream, preventing the hyperventilation feeling. Mental cue, I am processing the energy. Exhale, mouth. 8 seconds. Exhale completely through your mouth, making a whoosh sound. You must empty the lungs entirely. This long, slow exhale is the physical trigger for the vagus nerve. Mental cue, I am releasing the tension. The application. Do this exactly 3 times before you walk on stage or enter the meeting. Do not do it 20 times, you will get dizzy. 3 cycles is enough to chemically reset the amygdala and bring the prefrontal cortex back online. The safety behavior trap. We need to address a psychological mechanism that keeps you stuck, Safety behaviors. A safety behavior is anything you do to prevent a catastrophe while you are anxious. Holding your drink tightly so your hand doesn't shake. Rehearsing your sentences in your head before speaking. Avoiding eye contact to lower the intensity. Wearing a turtleneck to hide neck blotches. Looking at your phone to avoid small talk. You think these behaviors help you. They are actually destroying you. When you use a safety behavior and the catastrophe doesn't happen, e.g., you don't drop the drink, your brain learns the wrong lesson. It thinks, phew, the only reason we survived is because we held the drink tightly. Next time, we must hold it even tighter. This reinforces the belief that the situation is dangerous and that you are only safe if you perform these rituals. It keeps the anxiety alive. To break the cycle, you must engage in safety behavior elimination. Let your hand shake. Look them in the eye. Speak without rehearsing. Wear the shirt that shows your neck. When you do this and you don't die, your brain learns the real lesson. Oh, the shaking didn't matter. The situation wasn't dangerous after all. This is exposure therapy. You are exposing yourself to the thing you fear, the symptom, and realizing it has no teeth. Case studies in adrenaline management. Let's watch 3 masters apply these techniques in real-time, high-stakes environments. Case study A. The shaking surgeon, precision task. Context. Dr. Aris is a neurosurgeon. He is about to perform a delicate procedure. His hands develop a slight tremor from the caffeine and stress of the emergency. The amateur response. He stares at his hands. He thinks, "Oh God, I'm shaking. I can't operate like this. I'm dangerous. What if I slip?" The fear makes the shaking worse. He freezes. The master response. The alchemist. Relabel. Dr. Aris notices the tremor. He labels it neutrally. "My system is primed. My neurons are firing fast." Vagus break. He pauses for 10 seconds. He executes 1 cycle of 4-7-8 breathing to lower his heart rate just enough to regain fine motor control. Topic anchor. He shifts his focus entirely to the microscopic anatomy. He looks at the vessel he needs to clamp. He doesn't look at his hands. He looks at the target. Result: the moment he commits the instrument to the movement, the tremor vanishes into the action. The energy goes into the cut. Case study B. The confrontation, high conflict. Context. Sarah has to fire an employee who is known to be aggressive. As she waits for him to enter, her heart is pounding so hard she can hear it in her ears. She feels small. The amateur response. She tries to calm down. She sits down to hide her shaking knees. She rehearses her script frantically. She lowers her voice to be polite. The employee senses her fear and dominates the conversation. The master response. The transmutation. Stand up. Sarah stands up. She knows sitting compresses the diaphragm and makes her feel small. She adopts the power pose, feet wide, hands on table. Floor spike. She curls her toes and anchors herself to the floor. She feels immovable. Relabel. She feels the pounding heart. She thinks, "This is my body giving me the energy to be firm. I have the power right now." Projection. When the employee enters, she doesn't use a small, polite voice. She uses the extra air in her lungs to speak with 20% more volume and downward inflection. "Please, sit down." Result? The employee senses her biological intensity and immediately respects the frame. The adrenaline made her formidable. Case study C. The blackout, the performer. Context. A comedian is on stage. A joke bombs. Silence. The adrenaline spikes. The fight or flight urge to run off stage. The amateur response. The comedian rushes. He starts talking faster, stammering, trying to fill the silence. He apologizes. "Tough crowd tonight. The audience smells the fear and turns on him. The master response? The pause. Acceptance. He feels the spike. He accepts it. He does not run. The anchor. He stops. He looks directly at the audience member who didn't laugh. He breathes. Transmutation. He takes that terrifying energy and turns it into intensity. He leans into the mic, the pivot. He comments on the silence, the topic. Wow, that got quiet. I felt the air leave the room. Result, the audience laughs. They laugh because he didn't run. He stood in the fire and used the heat. Protocol 4.1, the pre-game ritual. You cannot wait until the crisis to practice these tools. You must build a ritual that you execute every single time you face a high-stakes moment. This ritual tells your brain, we are entering the arena and we are prepared. The 2-minute drill. Minute 00 to 0:30, the physical reset. Go to a private space, bathroom stall, hallway, stairwell. The shakeout. Literally shake your arms and legs violently for 10 seconds. This burns off the excess jitter cortisol. The power pose. Stand with hands on hips, chest open, chin up, hold for 20 seconds. This stance naturally increases testosterone and lowers cortisol. Minute 0:30 to 1 o'clock, the Vegas break. Close your eyes. Execute 3 cycles of the 4-7-8 breath. Focus purely on the sound of the exhale. Minute 1 to 1:30. The cognitive relabel. Say out loud, whisper if needed, I am not nervous. I am activated. My body is ready. Visualize the adrenaline as a bright blue light in your chest. Visualize yourself opening a valve and letting that blue light shoot out of your mouth and eyes. Transmutation. Minute 1:30 to 2 o'clock, the topic anchor. Stop thinking about your body. Define the first 10 seconds of the topic. What is the first sentence? What is the first data point? Who is the first person you will look at? Walk into the room. Protocol 4.2, the shake practice, desensitization. You need to desensitize yourself to the feeling of adrenaline. You need to practice functioning while shaking. You need to prove to your brain that the shake does not equal failure. Instructions. The induction. Perform 60 seconds of high-intensity burpees or sprinting in place. Do this until your heart is pounding, you are out of breath, and your hands are unsteady. The task. Immediately pick up a piece of paper with a text on it. The challenge. Read the text out loud, clearly and slowly, while your body is racing. The focus. Do not try to steady your hands. Let them shake. Focus 100% of your effort on articulating the consonants of the words. The insight. You will realize that you can speak perfectly clearly even when your heart rate is 150 beats per minute. You will realize that the internal storm does not have to disrupt the external message. This breaks the link between physical symptoms and performance failure. Protocol 4.3, the volume hack. This is an emergency override for when you feel your throat closing up in the middle of a sentence. Instructions. When you feel the quiver starting in your voice, stop. Do not try to push through the squeak. Plant your feet. Floor spike. Inhale into the belly. Speak the next sentence 2 times louder than normal. It will feel like you are shouting. To the audience, it will sound like confidence. Conclusion, ride the dragon. There is an old Zen proverb, you cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. Anxiety is a wave. If you stand still and try to block it, it will crush you. If you turn and run from it, it will catch you and drown you. But if you grab your board, the topic, paddle hard and catch the energy of the wave, it will propel you forward faster than you could ever move on your own. The adrenaline is not the enemy. The adrenaline is the ocean. It is vast, powerful, and indifferent. It does not care if you are scared. It only cares if you are balanced. So stop trying to calm the ocean. Balance on the board. Focus on the shore and ride the dragon all the way in. Chapter 5. Your Own Values. The Fog of War. We have spent the last 4 chapters building a tactical toolkit for navigating the world. You have learned the mechanics of attention. You know how to anchor your eyes on data to stop the spin. You know how to breathe through the adrenaline surge to prevent the amygdala hijack. You know that you are a messenger, not a performer. But there is one specific scenario we haven't touched. It is the scenario that keeps the socially anxious person awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. What happens when there is no topic? What happens when you walk into a situation where the external guardrails vanish? There are no slides to present. There is no crisis to solve. There is no agenda. You are just hanging out. You are at a dinner party where you don't know anyone. You are waiting for a flight with a colleague you barely know. You are on a first date that has lulled into silence. In a presentation, the topic is the data. In a negotiation, the topic is the deal. The topic is a sturdy handrail you can grab onto. But in casual social interaction, the handrail is gone. You are standing on a sheet of ice. This is the fog. In the fog, the external world offers you no clear instructions. There is no right thing to say. There is no wrong thing to say. There is only ambiguity. The anxious brain hates ambiguity more than it hates pain. Ambiguity triggers the amygdala because in the wild, the unknown is usually dangerous. When the external topic disappears, the ego, channel S, panics and immediately hijacks the spotlight. It turns the camera back on you. Since there is no topic, you must be the topic. Are you being funny enough? Are you being polite enough? Is the silence your fault? Do they like you? You start frantically searching for a script, but there isn't one. You feel untethered. You feel like a ghost waiting for someone else to acknowledge you so you can exist. This chapter is about finding a compass that works in the fog. When the outside world offers you nothing to hold on to, you must reach inside. You must shift your focus from the external topic, reality, to the internal topic, values. You are about to learn the ultimate freedom, the freedom to stop trying to be liked and start trying to be real. The validation trap. The addiction to good. To understand why we crumble in ambiguity, we must look at the psychological engine that drives almost all social anxiety, validation addiction. Most of us operate with an external locus of control. This is a psychological term meaning that we believe our self-worth is determined by external events, specifically, the opinions of others. You view your self-esteem as a vending machine. You put a coin in, you say something funny. You wait for the machine to dispense the product, they laugh. If they laugh, you get a hit of dopamine. You feel good. If they don't laugh, the machine eats your coin. You feel bad. You are constantly walking around with a pocket full of coins looking for machines to validate you. In the fog, this addiction becomes fatal. Because in casual conversation, the feedback is often unclear. People are tired. They are distracted. They might not laugh. They might not smile. If your internal state depends on their reaction, you are giving them the remote control to your nervous system. You are handing a stranger the power to decide if you are worthy of existence for the next 10 minutes. This is a terrifying way to live because people are clumsy. They will drop the remote, not because they are mean, but because they are human. They are thinking about their own laundry, their own divorce, or their own anxiety. To escape the fog, you must stop being a beggar. You must become a sovereign. A sovereign does not ask for value. A sovereign generates value. And the source of that value is not your performance, but your values. The nice trap. The biology of fawning. This addiction manifests most clearly in the compulsion to be nice. Socially anxious people often pride themselves on being nice. They are polite, agreeable, and accommodating. They never rock the boat. They smile when they are angry. They say yes when they mean no. They apologize for taking up space, and they call this kindness. I want to challenge you on that. I want you to ask yourself a brutal question. Are you nice because you genuinely love these people and want them to be happy? Or are you nice because you are terrified of them? Usually, it is the latter. This isn't kindness. It is fawning. In polyvagal theory, the science of safety and danger, there are 4 responses to threat. Fight, attack the threat. Flight, run from the threat. Freeze, play dead. Fawn, please the threat. Fawning is a survival strategy developed in childhood. If you had a critical parent or a bully or a chaotic environment, you learned that the safest way to survive was to be compliant. You learned to read the emotional temperature of the room and adjust yourself to lower the heat. If I am helpful, they won't yell at me. If I am funny, they won't hit me. If I am invisible, I am safe. The fawn response is a biological submission signal. It is the dog rolling over and showing its belly. It says, I am not a threat. Please don't hurt me. I will do whatever you want. When you walk into a meeting and smile too much, laugh too hard at bad jokes, and suppress your own opinions, you are not being polite. You are rolling over. The cost of fawning. The problem with fawning is that it creates soul debt. Every time you suppress your truth to buy safety, you pay a price. You erode your own self-respect. You feel exhausted after social interactions, not because you are an introvert, but because you have spent 3 hours suppressing your immune system and acting like a servant. True kindness is a gift. It comes from a place of fullness. Fawning is a transaction. It comes from a place of fear. It says, I will be nice to you, and in exchange, you must promise not to reject me. To find your values, you must first stop fawning. You must stop trying to be nice and start trying to be true. The internal compass, values versus goals. If we aren't chasing external validation, what are we chasing? How do we know if we are doing a good job in a conversation? We need to install a new operating system based on acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. We need to distinguish between values and goals. We confuse these two concepts constantly, and it causes endless suffering. 1. Goals, the map. A goal is a desired outcome that can be achieved and crossed off a list. It is a destination. Goal, make them laugh. Goal, get the promotion. Goal, avoid awkward silence. Goal, get a second date. The problem, goals are external and future-based. Critically, you do not control them. You can tell the best joke in the world, and if they have a headache, they won't laugh. If you tie your self-worth to a goal, you are gambling your happiness on factors outside your jurisdiction. Chapter 2. 2. Values, the compass. A value is a direction of travel. It is a quality of action that you embody in the present moment. It can never be achieved or finished. Value, curiosity. Value, courage. Value, honesty. Value, generosity. The solution. Values are internal and now based. You control them 100%. Think of it like traveling west. Reaching California is a goal. You might never get there. The car might break down. The road might be closed. Heading west is a value. You can head west no matter where you are. You can head west in a desert. You can head west in a storm. You can head west even if you are crawling. The shift. Social anxiety comes from obsessing over goals. Did they like me? Did I win? Social confidence comes from obsessing over values. Was I authentic? Was I brave? When you switch your focus to your values, you become invincible. Why? Because you can fail the interaction and still win the war of self-respect. The audience might hate your speech, failed goal. But if your value was courage, and you spoke your truth despite the fear, you succeeded, fulfilled value. You no longer need them to clap to know you did a good job. You know you did a good job because you checked your compass and you were heading west. The values menu, defining your internal topic. When the external topic is missing, the fog, you must choose an internal topic from your values menu. This becomes your anchor. You are no longer just hanging out, hoping to be liked. You are on a mission to embody a specific virtue. Here are the 4 most powerful values for the socially anxious. You must memorize these. Value 1. Curiosity, the detective. The focus, I am here to learn. The action, ask deep questions, listen intently, hunt for hooks. See Chapter 6. The win condition, did I learn something new about this person? Why it works, it shifts the spotlight off you and onto them. You cannot be curious and terrified at the same time. The brain circuits are incompatible. When you are truly curious, the ego goes to sleep. Value 2. Generosity, the host. The focus, I am here to make them feel comfortable. The action, smile warmly, introduce people, offer a drink, validate their feelings, look for the person who looks left out and rescue them. The win condition, did I try to add value to their experience? Why it works. Anxiety is self-absorbed. Generosity is other-absorbed. When you view yourself as the host, even if it's not your party, you take on a role of responsibility. You stop wondering if you are safe and start ensuring they are safe. This empowers you. Value 3. Honesty, the sovereign. The focus, I am here to be real. The action, speak your true opinion even if it disagrees. Admit when you don't know something. Admit when you are nervous. Refuse to perform a fake laugh. The win condition, did I tell the truth? Why it works. It destroys the imposter syndrome. You cannot feel like a fraud if you aren't faking anything. Honesty requires you to drop the mask. It is scary, but it is incredibly efficient. It burns off the nice fog and creates real connection. Value 4. Courage, the warrior. The focus, I am here to expand my comfort zone. The action, speak up even if your voice shakes. Stay in the room when you want to run. Ask for what you want. The win condition, did I take action with the anxiety? Why it works. It reframes the physical symptoms, shaking, sweating, as badges of honor. If you aren't shaking, you aren't using courage. Courage requires fear. This value turns the panic attack into a workout. The shadow values, how anxiety disguises itself. We must be careful. The ego is tricky. It likes to dress up anxiety and call it virtue. We call these shadow values. You tell yourself you are acting on a value, but you are actually acting on a fear. Shadow value, modesty. The lie. I don't speak up because I'm humble. I don't want to hog the spotlight. The truth. I don't speak up because I'm terrified of being judged. The fix. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. If you have an idea that helps the topic, holding it back is not modest. It is stingy. You are hoarding value to protect your ego. Shadow value, peacekeeping. The lie. I agree with them because I value harmony. I'm a chill person. The truth. I agree because I am terrified of conflict. I am fawning. The fix. True peace is honest resolution. Fake peace is suppressed resentment. If you agree when you disagree, you are lying. That is not a virtue. Shadow value, perfectionism. The lie. I have high standards. I want to do excellent work. The truth. I am terrified of shame. If I am perfect, nobody can hurt me. The fix. Excellence is about the work. Perfectionism is about the self. Excellence accepts mistakes as part of the process. Perfectionism hides mistakes to protect the image. Exercise the shadow check. Whenever you feel virtuous about staying silent or being agreeable, ask yourself, if I was guaranteed that nobody would judge me, would I still do this? If the answer is no, you are operating from a shadow value. You are hiding, not helping. Protocol 5.1, the values triage. You cannot embody all values at once. If you try to be curious, generous, honest, and brave simultaneously, you will freeze. You must perform triage. Before entering any high-stakes social situation, you must select one value to be your North Star. Step 1. Anticipate the threat, the trap. What is the specific flavor of anxiety you are facing? Trap. I'm afraid I'll run out of things to say. Fear of silence. Trap. I'm afraid I'll disagree and they'll get mad. Fear of conflict. Trap. I'm afraid I'll look boring. Fear of judgment. Step 2. Select the antidote, the value. Choose the value that directly counteracts the specific fear. If fear is silence, value is curiosity. Mission. I don't need to be interesting. I just need to find out how they met their spouse. If fear is conflict, value is honesty. Mission. I don't need to win the argument. I just need to say my piece clearly. If fear is judgment, value is generosity. Mission. I don't need to impress them. I just need to make them feel heard. Step 3. The entrance mantra. As you walk through the door, repeat the value. Curiosity, curiosity, curiosity. This preloads the brain with a mission. You are no longer drifting in the fog. You have a compass. Case studies in value alignment. Let's look at 3 detailed scenarios where the value script destroys the anxiety script. Case study. A. The people pleaser, saying no. The context. You are at a dinner with friends. The group decides to go to a loud, expensive club afterwards. You hate clubs. You are tired. You have an early morning. You want to go home. The ego script. The nice person. Away move. Channel S. If you say no, they will think you're boring. They will stop inviting you. You'll be left out. Just suck it up. Be fun. Action. You say, sure, sounds fun. You go. You stand in the club, miserable, checking your watch, drinking to numb the annoyance. You resent them. You resent yourself. Result. Soul debt increases. The values script, the honest person, towards move. Triage. The threat is fear of rejection. The value is honesty, sovereignty. The shift. You decide that your integrity is more important than their temporary approval. The action. You smile. You look them in the eye. You. I love you guys, but I'm going to head home. My battery is at 1%. Have a blast for me. The result. You go home, you sleep, you wake up proud of yourself, you respected your own boundaries, and paradoxically, they respect you more because you didn't fawn. Case study. B. The meeting confrontation. Conflict. The context. A colleague, Bob, interrupts you in a meeting and claims your data is wrong. He is aggressive and dismissive. The ego script. The victim, away move. Channel S. He's attacking me. I look weak. Everyone is watching. Fight back or run away. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Panic. Action. You get defensive. No, it isn't. Or you shut down. Okay, maybe. Both are reactions to fear. The values script. The professional. Towards move. Triage. The threat is fear of dominance. The value is clarity, a subset of honesty. The shift. You don't care if Bob likes you. You don't care if you look tough. You care if the data is accurate. The action. You use the third point, Chapter 8. You. Bob, I hear your concern, My commitment is to clarity. Let's pull up the source file right now and verify the numbers together. If I'm wrong, I want to know immediately so we can fix it. The result: you pivoted from a status war to a truth hunt. Even if you were wrong, you win, because you showed that you care more about the truth, topic, than your ego. Case study C. The networking lull, silence. The context: you are talking to a stranger. The conversation dies. You are both holding drinks, looking around. The ego script: the entertainer, away move. Channel S: this is awkward. I'm boring him. Dance, monkey, dance. Say something funny. Action: you blurt out a random question. So, do you like cheese? The values script: the host, towards move. Triage: the threat is awkwardness. The value is generosity. The shift: you realize he is probably feeling awkward too. Your job is to rescue him. The action: you name the elephant. I always find this part of the night tricky, when the small talk runs out, but we aren't drunk enough for the deep talk yet. You smile. The result: he laughs, he relaxes. You connected by being real. Protocol 5.2, the integrity audit. This exercise is painful but necessary. It reveals the price you are paying for your anxiety. Instructions: recall the betrayal. Think of the last 3 times you felt significant social regret, not where you made a mistake, but where you felt weak. Example: I didn't speak up when the boss stole my idea. Example: I laughed at a racist joke. Identify the value betrayed. For each scenario, write down the core value you violated to buy safety. Scenario 1, value betrayed, justice/self-respect. Scenario 2, value betrayed, integrity. The commitment: rewrite the scene. If you could go back with your new values compass, what is the one sentence you would say? Rewrite. Actually, that was my proposal, and I have the data to back it up. Rewrite. I don't think that's funny. This rewires the brain. It tells your subconscious. Next time we choose the value, not the safety. Protocol 5.3, the eulogy visualization, memento mori. This is a classic Stoic exercise adapted for social anxiety. Social anxiety thrives on myopia. It makes the current moment feel infinitely important. If I stumble in this speech, my life is over. We need to zoom out. We need memento mori. Remember, you must die. Instructions: the scene. Close your eyes. Imagine it is your funeral. The attendees. Imagine the people you care about are there. The speech. Imagine someone is giving a eulogy about your character. Option A, the anxious life. He was very safe. He never offended anyone. He always agreed. He had really smooth PowerPoint presentations. He checked his phone a lot. He was nice. Option B, the focused life. He was real. He spoke his mind even when his voice shook. He listened when you talked to him. He was awkward sometimes, but he was always present. He had courage. He made me feel seen. The choice. Open your eyes. Which eulogy do you want? The application. The next time you are terrified to speak up, ask yourself, does staying silent get me closer to eulogy A or eulogy B? If you want eulogy B, you have to speak. You have to take the risk. Conclusion. The observer self. When you build your life around values, you gain a superpower called the observer self. You realize that you are not your feelings. Your feelings are the weather, stormy, windy, hot. You are the sky. Clouds, fear, come and go. Storms, panic, come and go. But the sky is never damaged by the clouds. The sky contains them, but it is not them. When you anchor in your values, you move into the observer self. You can look at your shaking hands and say, wow, look at that storm. That's a lot of energy. Interesting. And then you can turn to the person next to you and say, "Hi, I'm Name. I'm a little nervous, but I'm really happy to be here." You are operating from a place behind the fear. You are the captain of the ship, watching the waves crash against the hull, holding the wheel steady toward the North Star. The fog will never fully lift. Life is always ambiguous. But you don't need to see the whole map. You just need to know which way is west. Check your compass. Head west. Part 3, the external shift, conversation tactics. Chapter 6, Flow Social. The Holy Grail of Connection. You know the feeling. It is rare, perhaps as rare as a lightning strike, but you have felt it at least once in your life. You are sitting with a friend, or maybe even a stranger at a bar late at night. The conversation is moving fast. You aren't thinking about what to say next. The words are just tumbling out of your mouth, perfectly timed, perfectly witty, perfectly clear. You aren't worrying about your hands. You aren't checking your phone. You aren't wondering if they like you. Time distorts. You look at your watch and realize 3 hours have passed in what felt like 20 minutes. You feel energized, not drained. You feel a buzz in your chest, a mixture of clarity, connection, and competence. For that brief window of time, the you that you are so afraid of, the awkward, stuttering, self-conscious you, ceased to exist. There was no you. There was only the conversation. This state is the holy grail of social interaction. We usually treat these moments as happy accidents. We think, wow, we really clicked, or the chemistry was just right tonight, or maybe it was the wine. We attribute it to luck, to external substances, or to the unique personality of the other person. We treat it like magic. We wait for it to descend upon us like a blessing from the social gods. But what if I told you that this state is not magic? What if I told you it is a repeatable, engineerable psychological state? This state is called flow. And once you understand the mechanics of flow, once you can see the gears turning underneath the surface of a conversation, you stop waiting for chemistry to happen, and you start building it brick by brick in every single interaction you have. You stop being a passenger in the conversation and become the architect. The physics of flow, challenge versus skill. To understand how to hack social interaction, we must look at the work of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the psychologist who coined the term flow in the 1970s. Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying people who were completely absorbed in their work: surgeons, rock climbers, chess players, dancers. He found that regardless of the activity, they all described the same state of consciousness. Self-consciousness disappears. The ego goes offline. Time distorts. Hours feel like minutes. Performance peaks. Execution becomes effortless. He discovered that flow is not a random event. It is a mathematical relationship between two variables: challenge and skill. To understand where you are failing socially, you must understand the 4 quadrants of experience. 1. Apathy, low challenge, low skill. This is the state of zoning out, watching bad TV, doom scrolling, or sitting in a meeting you don't care about. You are mentally checked out. There is no energy here. The brain is idling. 2. Boredom, low challenge, high skill. This is a dangerous trap for the socially anxious. You are in a conversation that is too easy for you. Perhaps someone is talking about the weather or complaining about a problem you've heard a million times. Because your skill, processing power, is high, but the challenge, the content, is low, your brain has excess energy. What does the anxious brain do with excess energy? It invents problems. It turns inward. Channel S, self-consciousness, wakes up. This is boring. I bet it's because I'm boring. Why can't I think of anything to say? I look stuck. They probably want to leave. Boredom is the breeding ground for social anxiety because the idle brain inevitably starts picking at its own scabs. 3. Anxiety, high challenge, low skill. This is where you likely live right now. The social situation feels terrifyingly hard, high challenge. The stakes feel high. The person is attractive, powerful, or intimidating. Simultaneously, you believe you lack the social tools to handle it, low skill. Result, cognitive overload. The system crashes, you freeze. The RAM is depleted by the Ego Audit, Chapter 1, leaving nothing for the interaction. 4. Flow, high challenge, high skill. This is the sweet spot. The task is hard enough to demand 100% of your attention, but you have the skills or the perceived skills to meet that demand. In this channel, there is no RAM left over for the ego. You are forced to be present just to survive the interaction. You are surfing the wave, the social flow gap. Here is the tragedy of the anxious person. You oscillate wildly between boredom and anxiety, never touching flow. Scenario A, the boring party. You are talking to a neighbor about their lawn. The challenge is too low. Your mind wanders to your own awkwardness. Result, anxiety born of boredom. Scenario B, the high-stakes pitch. You are presenting to the board. The challenge feels too high. Your mind collapses under the pressure. Result, anxiety born of overwhelm. To achieve flow social, we need to manipulate these variables manually. We need to become engineers of the interaction. If the situation is boring, we must increase the challenge, gamification. If the situation is terrifying, we must increase the skill, technique. This chapter is your toolkit for both. We are going to turn conversation from a vague art into a precise science. Mechanism 1, gamification, artificial complexity. Let's start with the problem of boredom. You are at a networking event. The person in front of you is droning on about their commute or the weather or their insurance policy. It is mind-numbing. Your brain begins to drift. Channel S wakes up. I am bored. I look bored. I am rude. I need to escape. To stay in flow, you need to increase the challenge, but you can't exactly ask them to start speaking in riddles. So, you must gamify the interaction. You must create artificial complexity. You are going to play a secret game inside your head that demands 100% of your attention. These games turn a passive listening experience into an active analytical pursuit. You are hacking your own dopamine system by setting a goal that only you know about. Game 1. The detective. The why game. Your mission is to find out why they are telling you this specific story. Every story is a bid for a specific type of validation. Them. Traffic was crazy on the 405. Your internal mission. Why does this matter to him? Is he looking for sympathy? Is he bragging about his endurance? Is he just filling silence? Is he signaling that he is a busy, important person? Your action. Test a hypothesis. Does that drive drain you, or is it your time to decompress? Game 2. The emotional profiler. Your mission is to identify their core emotional driver. Every human is driven by one of 4 main desires: control, significance, connection, or comfort. Them. I told my boss he was wrong. Your internal mission. Is this guy driven by significance, power, or connection, justice? Your action. Dig for the motive. Was it hard to stand up to him, or did it feel like a relief? Game 3. The 1% teach. Your mission is to learn one thing from this person that you didn't know before. Everyone is an expert in something, even if it's boring to you. Them. I sell cardboard boxes. Your internal mission. I know nothing about cardboard. How does that industry work? What is the crisis in the cardboard world? Your action. I've never thought about the logistics of that. What's the biggest crisis that can happen in the cardboard world? Is it rain? Game 4. The linguistic pattern matcher. Your mission is to count specific verbal tics or patterns. This is for when you are trapped in a lecture or a meeting where you cannot speak. Your internal mission. Count how many times they use the word strategic, or track the ratio of I statements versus we statements. Why it works. It forces your auditory processing center to analyze every syllable. Channel S cannot break through that level of granularity. It occupies the phonological loop of your working memory. By gamifying the listener role, you turn a boring conversation into a puzzle. Puzzles are high challenge. Puzzles create flow. You stop looking for the exit and start looking for the clues. Mechanism 2. The detective method. Curiosity as a weapon. Now let's deal with the anxiety side of the equation. When you are terrified, you feel the pressure to perform. You feel like you need to be Jerry Seinfeld. You need to be witty. You need to have sharp observational humor. You need to generate content. This is a heavy burden. If you are responsible for generating the content, you are responsible for the silence. You are the clown at the birthday party, and if the kids aren't laughing, you are failing. I want you to adopt the identity of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes does not worry if people like him. He does not worry if his tie is straight. He does not worry if he is charming. He is obsessed with the case. The case is the person standing in front of you. The clues are their words, their tone, their body language, and their shoes. The solution is figuring out what makes them tick. The neurology of curiosity. To understand why this method works, we need to look at the relationship between anxiety and curiosity. Neurobiologically, these two states are incompatible. You cannot be genuinely curious and genuinely terrified at the exact same second. Anxiety, the push emotion. Driven by the amygdala and cortisol, it pushes you away from the stimulus. It contracts your world. It says, "Back away, this is dangerous." Curiosity, the pull emotion. Driven by the ventral striatum and dopamine, it pulls you toward the stimulus. It expands your world. It says, "Come closer, this is interesting." When you activate the curiosity circuits in your brain, you naturally inhibit the anxiety circuits. Think about a horror movie. You are terrified of the monster, but you are also dying to see what it looks like. The curiosity keeps your eyes open. The detective method is a cognitive hack to manually force your brain into the pull state. By assigning yourself a mystery to solve about the other person, you trick your brain into releasing dopamine instead of cortisol. The identity shift, high status. There is a hidden power dynamic in every conversation. Low status, the person seeking approval, the beggar, the one who waits to be spoken to, anxious state. High status, the person asking the questions, the interviewer, the director, detective state. When you use the detective method, you automatically shift into high status. Even if you are shaking, even if you feel like an imposter, the act of asking questions places you in the driver's seat. You are the one holding the flashlight. You are the one directing the flow. Tell me more about that. Why did you choose that path? What happened next? These are director commands. You are controlling the topic. And because you are controlling the topic, you can steer it away from your insecurities. Mechanism 3. Tactical hook hunting. How do we start the investigation? We need to move from vague questions to hook hunting. The trap of vague questions, VQs. Anxious people ask vague questions because they are safe. They are the default settings of social interaction. How are you? How was your weekend? What do you do? The problem with VQs is that they invite scripts. Question: how are you? Script: good, you? Result: dead end. The ego screams, now what? Panic. Ask another random question. The hook theory. To break the script, you must listen for a hook. A hook is any word, phrase, shift in tone, or physical detail that indicates emotional energy. People cannot help but reveal themselves. Even in the most boring scripted sentence, there is a hook waiting to be pulled. There are 3 primary types of verbal hooks, and 1 type of nonverbal hook to hunt for. Verbal hook. A. The energy hook, enthusiasm. This is a word that the speaker emphasizes, smiles about, or speeds up when saying. It represents a break in their boredom. Them. Work is fine, but I'm just ready for my trip next week. The hook. Trip. The detective's move. Ignore. Work is fine. Latch on to the energy. Where are you going? Is this a vacation or an adventure? Verbal hook. B. The pain hook. Frustration. People love to complain. Pain is a high-energy state. If someone reveals frustration, that is a massive door into a real conversation. Do not be afraid of negativity. Negativity is real. Them. I spent all day dealing with the new software update. The hook. Software update. The detective's move. Validate the pain. Is it one of those updates that breaks everything that used to work? Or just a steep learning curve? Verbal hook. C. The expertise hook. Knowledge. Everyone wants to feel smart. If someone uses a technical term, a specific detail, or a unique name, they are signaling, I know about this. Ask me about this. Them. I'm making a pure sourdough loaf this weekend. The hook. Pure sourdough, as opposed to just bread. The detective's move. I know nothing about baking. What makes it pure sourdough? Is that harder to do than regular bread? Nonverbal hook. D. The visual hook. Identity. Sometimes they give you nothing verbally. They give one-word answers. In this case, you must look at the physical evidence. People wear their identity. The watch. Is it a gigantic Garmin running watch? Topic: fitness, data, marathons. The shoes. Are they pristine Jordans? Topic: collector culture, style. The hands. Are they calloused? Topic: lifting, manual labor, climbing. The detective's move. I noticed that watch. It looks like serious gear. Are you training for something specific? The scan. When you enter a conversation, imagine you are wearing Terminator vision. You are scanning their sentences for these bright red keywords. They say, I went to my niece's recital. You scan, niece, connection hook. Recital, activity hook. Selection, you choose the recital. Action, a recital implies music or dance. Which one is she mastering? You don't need to invent a topic. The topic is right there in their sentence. You just need to pick it up. Mechanism 4. The excavation, drilling down. Once you have grabbed a hook, you must drill down. Most conversations stay horizontal. You. Where are you from? Them. Chicago. You. Cool. I'm from New York. Horizontal move. You shifted the topic to yourself. Them. Nice. You. Do you like sports? Horizontal move. New random topic. Result. Dead end. The detective moves vertical. You stay on the same spot and dig deeper. You refuse to change the subject until you have hit the core. The spade and the drill. There are two tools for drilling. The spade, open questions, and the drill, specific inquiry. 1. The spade, how, why. How and why questions force the other person to switch from their automatic script, prefrontal cortex, to their emotional center, limbic system. Facts are boring, motives are fascinating. Them. I'm from Chicago. The spade. How does Chicago compare to living here? Is the vibe totally different? Or, why did you leave? Was it the weather? 2. The drill, specific inquiry. This is where you ask for high-resolution details. This proves you are listening. Them. I'm a graphic designer. The drill. Does that mean you draw by hand, or is it all coding now? Them. It's mostly software. The drill. What's the software that everyone in your industry uses? Is it still Photoshop, or has something new taken over? Notice what happens here. You are not adding any information about yourself. You are not performing. You are simply shining the spotlight on the nuances of their life. And the incredible secret is, they will think you are fascinating. By finding their life interesting, you become interesting. You become the mirror that reflects their own complexity back to them. Advanced tactic. the double click. In computing, you click a folder to open it. In conversation, you do the same. When someone uses a generic word, a folder, you must double-click on it to see the files inside. Them. My boss is intense. You double-click. When you say intense, do you mean he yells or is he just hyper-focused? Them. I had a weird weekend. You double-click. Define weird. Are we talking fun weird or call the police weird? Generic words, good, bad, busy, stressful, are closed folders. The double-click forces them to open the folder and show you the specific data. This creates instant depth. Advanced tactic. The cold read. Barnum statements. Sometimes asking too many questions feels like an interrogation. To maintain high status, switch to a cold read. Instead of asking a question, make an observation or a guess. Question. Do you like your job? Low status, interrogator. Cold read. You look like the kind of person who needs to be busy to be happy. High status, mystic. If you are right, they are amazed. How did you know? If you are wrong, they will correct you. Actually, I'm totally lazy. Either way, you have opened a deep vein of conversation without asking a question. You have taken a risk, which shows confidence. Mechanism 5. The technical toolkit, mirroring and echoing. Now that we have the strategy, the detective, we need the tactics. We need to look at the mechanics of mirroring and echoing. But first, a disclaimer. We are not using mirroring to trick them into liking us. We are not acting. We are using mirroring to lower the noise in the transmission channel so the topic can be heard clearly. It is not manipulation. It is tuning the radio frequency. The biological bridge, isopraxis. Human beings have a set of brain cells called mirror neurons. These neurons fire when we perform an action and when we see someone else perform the same action. They are the hardware of empathy. In evolutionary biology, this is called isopraxis, same behavior. When animals in a herd move together, they signal we are one organism. When you are anxious, you are usually out of sync. Posture. They are relaxed, leaning back. You are tense, leaning forward, guarding your chest. Speed. They speak slowly and thoughtfully. You speak fast and frantically, trying to please. Energy. They are low energy. You are manic high energy. This dissonance triggers their amygdala. They subconsciously feel, this person is not like me. They are unpredictable. Danger. To create flow, you must use mirroring to sync your hardware with theirs. Level 1. Physiological mirroring, the body. Look at their posture. Are their legs crossed? Are they leaning on the table? Is their breathing shallow or deep? Action. Subtly adjust your body to match theirs. Do not be a mime, be a cousin. If they lean back, relax your shoulders. If they lean in, match their intensity. Effect, their brain registers, he is one of us. He is safe. Level 2. Sonic mirroring, the voice. Listen to the music of their voice. Tempo. Do they talk like a machine gun, fast, or a cello, slow? Volume. Are they a boombox or a whisperer? Pitch. Do they end sentences up or down? Action. Adjust your transmission to match their frequency. If you talk fast to a slow talker, you overwhelm them. They feel rushed. If you talk slow to a fast talker, you bore them. They feel held back. Match the tempo to lock into their processing speed. Level 3. Vocabulary mirroring, the echo. This is the most powerful tool for instant chemistry. People have specific words they use to describe their reality. These words matter. They are the keys to their worldview. Scenario. They say, I was absolutely gutted when the project failed. Bad response. Yeah, I bet you were sad. You used your word, not theirs. You missed the nuance. Good response. The echo. What part of it left you the most gutted? By using their specific word, gutted, you validate their reality. You prove you are in their world, seeing what they see. The echo drill. This is a training exercise to build the muscle of vocabulary mirroring. Instructions. The partner. Do this with a friend or even on a sales call. The constraint. For 5 minutes, you are not allowed to ask a new question until you have repeated one specific word from their last sentence back to them. Them. I'm just really swamped at work. You. Swamped? Is it volume or deadline pressure? Them. It's the deadlines, they're killing me. You. What's the one deadline that's killing you the most? The goal. Notice how much deeper the conversation goes when you refuse to change the subject and instead drill down into their specific language. You are proving that you are listening. The feedback loop.